Chapter 662. Ancient Strange Poison. Xiumin walked out of the meeting room and walked quickly to the emergency room. He was recognized by the doctors as soon as he reached the emergency room. Xiumin had a high reputation in Songshan's medical field, and some of these doctors were his students. Naturally, they were more respectful when they saw Xiumin. "Professor Guan, you're here." Dr. Sun, who was in charge of the emergency room, was also Xiumin's student. He quickly welcomed Xiumin. "Are you going to do a house visit?" "Yeah, I'll take a look." Xiumin nodded. "Bring me there." Dr. Sun hesitated. If it was an acute infection, it would be very dangerous for Xiumin to go there. But he knew Xiumin's personality. He didn't care about life and death, so he only hesitated for a moment before bringing Xiumin to the isolation room. Among the parents, someone recognized Xiumin and shouted, "Miracle Dr. Guan is here. My child can be saved." "What? Miracle Dr. Guan? Which Miracle Dr. Guan?" "Of course it's Guan Xiumin, Miracle Dr. Guan." Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company has been very famous recently. I heard that there are 2 special medicines that are going to hit the market soon. The parents were overjoyed when they heard that it was Xiumin. Xiumin's reputation was well known, and he had the title of Miracle Doctor. If he was here, then their children would definitely have hope. So all the parents rushed out and pulled Xiumin. "Miracle Dr. Guan, please take a look at my child." "Let my child take a look first, I beg you. Let my child take a look first. My family only has 1 son in 3 generations. Let my child take a look. I beg you, I'm begging you. I only have 1 daughter, and her mother died giving birth to her. I can't lose her." The parents were in a mess again. They all wanted Xiumin to treat their children first. Peng Zhan could see everything clearly from the isolation room, but he didn't want to get involved. He was worried about Meng Yao's safety, but the other parents were worried about their children as well. He was the chairman of the school, so how could he compete? Moreover, as long as the cause of the illness was found, it would be easy to treat it. Dr. Sun felt a headache when he saw the parents, but he said, "Everyone, please be quiet. You will only waste precious time like this. Let Professor Guan choose which room he wants to go to. As long as we find the cause of one disease, we can start to treat them in batches." Dr. Sun's words woke the parents up. They stopped talking and waited for Guan Xiumin to make his choice. Guan Xiumin didn't look at the expectant gazes of these parents. Instead, he casually walked into an isolation room closest to him. 2 of the parents were instantly overjoyed. Obviously, they were the parents of the children in the ward. Guan Xiumin ignored these people and went to the unconscious student's side. Soon, he was in the zone. 10 minutes later, Guan Xiumin shook his head. The patient's pulse was very weak, which meant that the patient's physiological functions were weakening. The patient's vital signs were also very weak. If this continued, the patient would die by tomorrow at the latest. But there was nothing Guan Xiumin could do. This kind of weakness was similar to an old man at the end of his life. It was as if he had used up all of his life force and was walking towards the end of his life. Theoretically speaking, there was no way to save him. But the patient was only a child in his teens. He wasn't an old man at all. It was very strange for this to happen. Nothing had happened before. Suddenly, he became like this. If he wasn't poisoned, then what was it? Guan Xiumin's heart was even more determined. As for the so-called bacterial infection, Guan Xiumin didn't really believe it. It was just a possibility. Poison. 1,000-year-old poison. Did such a poison really exist? If it did, how did these children get poisoned? Who was the culprit? Was it unintentional or intentional? Guan Xiumin couldn't figure it out. At this moment, he was trying his best to recall the ancient book that he had read. He wanted to recall the antidote from it. But helplessly, Guan Xiumin couldn't think of a similar explanation no matter how hard he racked his brain. Did he really have to give up? There were 28 children here. Guan Xiumin really didn't want to see them die just like that. Suddenly, a person appeared in Guan Xiumin's mind. Guan Xiumin took out his phone and dialed a number. At this moment, he could only ask for help. Other than that, there was no other way. He took his clothes and phone and left Jiang Wen's kidney trafficking company headquarters. Jiang Wen's headquarters was in the suburbs. Usually, there weren't many cars passing by here. If Lin he wanted to go back to school, he could only walk to the bus station near the suburbs and take a taxi or bus. While waiting for the taxi, Lin he took out his phone to check the time. He realized that there were few missed calls. Lin he suddenly remembered that before he pretended to be unconscious, Lin he set his phone to vibrate so that Jangwon wouldn't take the call out. He forgot to turn it back after he left the kidney trafficking company. He checked the caller ID and realized that they were all from Yushu. Lin he didn't know why Yushu was looking for him. There were more than 10 calls. Could it be that the miss was looking for him? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat as he recalled the fight between Meng Yao and Tang Yun. Could it be that the miss and Tang Yun were fighting again? Thinking about this, Lin Yi quickly called back. The sudden ringing shocked Yushu. Peng Zhan and Faubert were also shocked. Meng Yao took out her phone and looked at the caller ID. It was Lin Yi. She quickly picked up the phone. "Shield bro, where did you go? Why didn't you pick up? Yao sis is going to die soon. Sob, you didn't pick up my calls. I've decided not to be with you anymore." Meng Yao was going to die. Lin Yi was shocked. Meng Yao was still fine when he left. He had only left for a few hours, and Meng Yao was going to die. What had happened in the middle of this? "Shu, don't panic. What happened to Yao? Where are you guys?" Lin Yi asked. "We are in the emergency room of Songshan's second hospital. Come quickly, Shield bro. If Yao sis dies, I don't want to live anymore." Yushu was panicking, but the fact that she could contact Lin Yi gave her some hope. In Yushu's mind, Shield bro seemed to be able to do anything. Chapter 663. Speed car, okay. Yushu knew that explaining the situation to Lin Yi would save them some time, and so she told Lin Yi about what happened in the cafeteria. Lin Yi, on the other hand, frowned after listening to Yushu's story. Meng Yao just fainted out of nowhere. Lin Yi couldn't make a judgment based on Yushu's words, so he decided to go to the hospital first. "Sir, can you please drive faster?" Lin Yi was worried about the miss's safety. Living with the miss every day made Lin Yi develop some feelings for the miss. Although Lin Yi's master and old Lin had trained him to be a little cold-blooded, he wasn't a plant or a tree. Meng Yao wasn't just his employer. Lin Yi saw her as a friend. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't be in such a rush. He was Meng Yao's follower, but he wasn't her personal doctor. Peng Zhan didn't tell him that he was obligated to take care of Meng Yao's illness. But the situation was different. Lin Yi was worried about the miss from the bottom of his heart, so he urged the driver to go faster. They were still quite a distance away from Songshan's Songzhan Hospital, and it would take at least an hour at their current speed. "Kid, this car of mine is 5 years old, and it's not working well anymore. It's dangerous to drive fast, and I don't dare to drive fast." The driver smiled bitterly. "I know you're in a rush to get to the hospital, so how about this? I'll drive to a place with more cars, and you can switch to another car. As for the fare, it's up to you whether you want to pay or not." Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head at the driver's words. They were still quite a distance away from the city, and Lin Yi couldn't wait any longer. "Let me drive. I'll pay you the fare, and I'll pay you an extra 500. Lin Yi took out his wallet and counted out 700 kwai, putting it on the dashboard. It was about 200 kwai to get to the hospital from here, so 700 was already a lot for Lin Yi. The driver hesitated for a moment before asking, "Young man, do you have a driver's license?" "Yes." Lin Yi took out his driver's license from his wallet and showed it to the driver. "Okay, then you drive." The driver gladly took the 700 yuan and parked the car on the side of the road. It was Lin Yi's turn to drive. The driver was also very clear. Even if Lin Yi's way of driving wasted some gas, the money would be enough. Even the money for the violation of the law was included, so why not? After Lin Yi got in the car, he started the car, put in gear, and released the clutch in one go. After the car rushed out, the next thing he did was to constantly change gears and accelerate. Lin Yi's driving style gave the driver a shock. How long had it been? Lin Yi had already put in gear 5, and he kept stepping on the accelerator. The car was like a runaway horse that was galloping. Although this was a suburban road, and there were no cars, the speed limit here was 80 kilometers per hour. If there was a speed camera recording of Lin Yi driving like this, he would have been recorded. Fortunately, there were no cameras on this road. However, after Lin Yi entered the city, his speed didn't decrease. Instead, he kept accelerating. Seeing that there were more and more cars, the driver quickly said, "Young man, slow down. It's dangerous. Besides, there's a post in front. There are policemen. You won't be able to hit them." Lin Yi said faintly. He was still accelerating. The car was like an afterimage, shuttling through the traffic nimbly. As soon as Lin Yi finished speaking, the car completed a drift, and the driver was so scared that his heart almost exploded. Drift? It can't be, right? I usually only see it on TV. I didn't expect my broken car to be able to drift. Was this guy a professional racer? As he was thinking, police sirens came from all around the car. Evidently, the surveillance center saw something strange here and sent people to intercept him. "Young man, the police are here. Stop the car." The driver was so scared that he quickly said. He was done for. Wouldn't the car be impounded? This 700 RMB wasn't even enough to pay the fine. Lin Yi frowned slightly. He didn't expect the police to react so quickly. They locked onto his location in such a short amount of time. Lin Yi had no choice but to call Lingshan. Fortunately, Lingshan wasn't in the headquarters of the kidney trafficking organization, and her phone had signal. Lin Yi dialed her number. "Hello, Lingshan?" Lin Yi didn't wait for her to speak and said directly, "My car is being targeted by the police. I need to go to the hospital to save someone. Inform them to pull back." Lingshan received a call from Lin Yi. She thought that Lin Yi was calling to ask if he had destroyed the kidney trafficking organization's HQ. She didn't expect it to be something else. But this time, Lingshan didn't feel angry at Lin Yi's order. She didn't ask much and only asked, "What's your car number?" "What's your car number?" Lin Yi asked the driver. "Song at 8224. The driver was shocked. This guy knew Lingshan? Actually, the driver shouldn't know the name Lingshan based on his profession. But when he listened to the news on the radio, he heard about the new captain of the criminal investigation team, Lingshan, solving the bank robbery case and capturing the bank robbers. That was why he had an impression. A while ago, she caught another criminal, and this made the driver feel that this captain of the criminal investigation team was very capable, so he remembered the name. But what he didn't expect was that Lin Yi knew Lingshan, and his tone wasn't polite at all. Who was this guy? Lin Yi didn't have time to think about what the driver was thinking. He told Lingshan the car number directly. Lingshan remembered the car number and called the Traffic Police Command Center. She couldn't just ignore Lin Yi's matter. Besides, Lin Yi had made it very clear that he was going to the hospital to save people. Wait, hospital to save people? Lingshan suddenly remembered the report from her subordinates. There was a mass coma in Songshan's first school, but because she was busy with the kidney trafficking organization case, she sent one of her team leaders to the school to investigate. Could it be that Lin Yi was going to save those poisoned students? Thinking that Lin Yi was also a student of Songshan's first school, and he was hired by Pingzhan, it made sense that he was going to save people. But this wasn't Lingshan's area of responsibility, so she didn't ask much. Suddenly, Lingshan remembered that Lin Yi didn't call her Miss Braindead, but called her by her name. Lingshan's heart skipped a beat for no reason. Was Lin Yi in a hurry and didn't have time to tease her, or did his attitude towards her change? Chapter 664. Just how strong was he? Lin Yi drove past another street, and the sirens of the police cars disappeared. Evidently, they had been notified. The driver was very impressed with Lin Yi, and it wasn't until Lin Yi stopped the car in front of the hospital that the driver came back to his senses. This was a driving god. He looked at the time, 19 minutes. It was a miracle, unbelievable. He never thought that his old car, which cost tens of thousands of kwai for 5 years, had the potential to be a sports car, or even faster than a sports car. Lin Yi's phone rang again when he got out of the car. He'd thought it was Yushu asking if he'd arrived, but it was Xiumin. Lin Yi picked up the phone as he walked into the hospital. "Hello, Grandpa Guan, what's up?" Lin Yi was worried about the Mrs. well-being, and so he remained polite to Guan Xiumin, but he was still a little impatient. He wanted to finish the call as soon as possible. "Where are you? Can you come over if you don't have anything to do?" Guan Xiumin could hear the urgency in Lin Yi's voice. Something must have happened to Lin Yi, and it made his heart tighten. If Lin Yi couldn't come, then there was no hope at all. I'm at Songshan's second hospital. My friend is in trouble, and I'm in a rush. I'm afraid I don't have time. Lin Yi replied quickly. I'm sorry, Grandpa Guan. I'll call you when I'm done, okay? Lin Yi pushed the door open and rushed into the emergency room. The doctor wanted to stop Lin Yi, but who knew that Lin Yi would be so fast? He went in the blink of an eye. Guan Shuamin froze when he heard Lin Yi's word. Lin Yi was at Songshan's second hospital too? Also, why was there an echo when Lin Yi spoke? Guan Shuamin raised his head and saw a figure dashing towards him. Who else could it be but Lin Yi? Lin Yi is here? Could it be that Lin Yi's friend was one of the poisoned students? Guan Shuamin heaved a sigh of relief when he thought of this possibility. If that was the case, then there was hope for these students. Shuamin hurriedly got up and followed. Yi. Lin Yi was surprised to hear someone call his name. He listened carefully, and it was still Shuamin's voice. Lin Yi looked at the phone beside his ear. It didn't seem to be coming from the phone, but from behind him. Lin Yi turned around and said in surprise, Grandpa Guan, why are you here? Is your friend one of the unconscious students? Guan Shuamin did not answer Lin Yi's question, but asked anxiously. Oh. Lin Yi paused for a moment, then understood. I see. Grandpa Guan, you call me here for the students, right? But it doesn't matter if you know anyone here. I have to go see my friend first. I'm sorry. I'll be there after I'm done. Lin Yi politely stated his standpoint. Shuamin was close to him, but since it wasn't Guan Shuamin who had fainted, Lin Yi still had to go see the miss first. Haha, I don't know anyone here. Go see your friend first. We can save them as long as we know the cause of their fainting. I'm just here to treat them. Shuamin waved his hand, signaling Lin Yi to calm down and focus on treating his friend. Lin Yi nodded. So Shuamin was worried about the student's condition. He had misunderstood him. All right, I'll go see my friend first. Lin Yi nodded and started looking for Meng Yao's room. He didn't walk far before he saw Peng Zhan, Faubert, and Yushu in one of the rooms. This was obviously Meng Yao's isolation room. Lin Yi pushed the door open and walked in. Peng Zhan didn't know much about Lin Yi's medical skills. When Shu called Lin Yi, Peng Zhan thought that Shu was just trying to find a doctor in a desperate situation. He didn't really think that Lin Yi could cure his daughter's illness. Faubert, on the other hand, was deep in thought. He knew that Lin Yi wasn't simple. He killed 2 golden class masters, so how strong must he be? In the beginning, Faubert suspected that Lin Yi was a golden class late phase, but a few days ago he heard that Lin Yi and Uncle Zhu, who was working for Zhao Qibing, exchanged a palm strike. Faubert was shocked. Naturally, Faubert had heard of Uncle Zhu's name before. Back in the days, Uncle Zhu, Zhu Laolu, was a famous figure, with the strength of an early phase mystic class. Basically, he didn't have many opponents. Later, he heard that he was recruited by a family, but he didn't think that he would become Zhao Qibing's follower. For a master like that, even if he didn't break through in the past 10 years, it was impossible for his strength to deteriorate. He was definitely at the early phase mystic class. But after Lin Yi exchanged a palm strike with him, it was as if nothing had happened. He didn't seem to be injured at all. This surprised Faubert. Just how strong was Lin Yi? Was he a mystic class early phase as well? Only a mystic class master of the same level could fight Uncle Zhu head-on. Of course, if Lin Yi was a mystic class mid-phase, he would definitely be able to kill Uncle Zhu even if he didn't have the upper hand. Now, that Uncle Zhu wasn't dead, and Lin Yi wasn't injured, it was strange. If Lin Yi was much stronger than Uncle Zhu, it was possible that he wasn't injured. But if Lin Yi was much stronger than Uncle Zhu, would Uncle Zhu still be alive? He would probably be dead by now, right? Even a mystic class mid-phase could kill an opponent in a head-on clash like this. Of course, he would be injured. But Lin Yi wasn't injured, and he didn't kill Uncle Zhu. The only possibility was that either Lin Yi didn't use his full strength, or Lin Yi's medical skills were superb, and he healed Uncle Zhu himself. Faubert felt that the first possibility was less likely. After all, Lin Yi was furious at that time. Why would he show mercy? After he broke Zhao Qibing's leg, he still had other things to do to Zhao Qibing. If he didn't care about Uncle Zhu at all, he could still continue to attack Zhao Qibing after killing Uncle Zhu. But Lin Yi didn't do that and chose to leave. Most importantly, Lin Yi was indeed injured that night, and he was treated at Fatty Lai's house. Although Faubert didn't know what happened, and he didn't see how serious Lin Yi's injury was, he could guess that it wasn't light. Because of this, Faubert suspected that Lin Yi's medical skills were superb as well. Chapter 665. Both are possible. Professor Guan Lil Yi, you're here. Although Pingzhan noticed this detail, Lin Yi was still a junior to him, and they were familiar with each other, so he put Xu Amin before him. I came with Lil Yi to see if he can. Xu Amin was a scholar, and he didn't care about his reputation. Lin Yi was better than him, and he wouldn't hide it. But Yushu interrupted him before he could finish. Shield bro, you're finally here? Quick, take a look at Yao Yao. You have to cure her. Yushu looked at Lin Yi as if he was her savior. She grabbed Lin Yi and pulled him to Meng Yao's bedside. Okay. Lin Yi nodded, his face serious as he held Meng Yao's hand and checked her pulse. She was very weak, like an old man on the verge of death. But from Jiao Yazi's perspective, Meng Yao's energy was disappearing at a rapid rate, and the moment it completely disappeared would be the moment her life came to an end. Lin Yi frowned. This situation was very strange, and there were many possibilities for this to happen. First, it could be a physical problem, like a natural disease, but Meng Yao obviously didn't have that. Second, it could be a malignant disease, like cancer, but Meng Yao didn't look like a cancer patient at all. Other than that, there were two less common possibilities. First, she was injured by a master, and her internal organs were damaged. That was why her life was disappearing so quickly. Second, it could be poisoning. Some poisons could also destroy the body's physiological functions, causing a person to die quickly. Lin Yi didn't look at the case, and he didn't have the time to do so. He only asked Xu Amin, Grandpa Guan, what do you think? Xu Amin replied quickly when he heard Lin Yi's question. The experts have two guesses. First, she's infected with some unknown bacteria, and second, she's poisoned. Bacteria? Poisoned? Lin Yi nodded. Both are possible. Both are possible. Guan Xu Amin was surprised. He didn't expect Lin Yi to agree with the germ theory. I have carefully studied voodoo. In fact, many voodoo are a type of bacteria, and people who are poisoned by voodoo will also have the same situation. Lin Yi said, but in the end, it is still poisoning. Voodoo can also be considered poison. I see. Guan Xu Amin hadn't thought about the goo poison, but after hearing Lin Yi's words, he understood. It seemed like he had been a little paranoid, and Zhang Weikong's words weren't without reason. Of course, Zhang Weikong was lucky, and he didn't expect that. Lin Yi was just guessing. He wasn't absolutely sure if Meng Yao was poisoned or not. But according to the current situation, waking Meng Yao up wasn't a difficult task. But waking her up wasn't something that could be maintained. Master Guan, is there anything wrong with the food in your stomach? Lin Yi had the same guess, but he still asked. No. Guan Xu Min said, at least from the current test results, there is no poison. But there are some herbs or bugs that can't be detected with chemical methods. Lin Yi nodded. I know that. I've done some research on poisons. Tang's poison scripture basically covers all the poisons in the world and the ways to detoxify them. It could be said that Lin Yi was very knowledgeable about poisons, and this was also related to his old man. Lin Yi didn't understand why his old man was so interested in poisons and voodoo, but Lin Yi was also very knowledgeable about poisons and detoxification. Tang's poison scripture? You've read Tang's poison scripture? Guan Xu Amin's face changed drastically as he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. In the ancient book that he had read before, when it mentioned the ancient poison, it also mentioned the famous Tang sect poison scripture from ancient times to the present. Tang's poison scripture, as the name suggested, was one of the secret manuals of the Tang sect. The Tang sect was located in Sichuan, also known as the Tang family fortress. The Tang sect was famous for their poison. However, it had been lost in history and only appeared in some wuxia novels and TV dramas. Whether or not this sect really existed was still unknown. As a result, Guan Xu Amin wasn't sure if the Tang sect poison classic mentioned in the ancient book actually existed. This type of ancient medical book was not an orthodox medical literature, but rather an anecdote. The things mentioned in it were all strange and strange things. Some were true, some were false, so there was no way to judge. Yes, Lenny nodded. Tang's poison scripture wasn't the only one in his house. There were also many other books related to poison, such as the 5 Poison Scripture. Guan Xiumin was excited. Could it be that Lin Yi really came from an ancient medical family? Why did he see so many medical books that were lost in history? Of course, Guan Xiumin knew that this wasn't the time to ask about this. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and asked, "Do you have a way to cure her? As long as she's poisoned, there should be a way. I'll give it a try." Lin, he didn't make any promises. Although, when he left the mountain, old Lin had said that he had already learned 1/3 of his skills, which was enough for him to dominate the martial arts world. Lin, he wasn't an arrogant person. Who knew if he could cure her? However, Lin, he wasn't worried about Meng Yao's safety. As long as he kept transferring pure energy into her body, the energy that Jiao Yazi mentioned, he could keep her alive indefinitely. Even if he couldn't cure her, he could still bring her to old Lin and save her. Although old Lin kept bragging about being the world's #1 miracle doctor, Linny knew that old Lin had the ability to do so. He, on the other hand, was still 1 level lower. Lin, he silently channeled the art of dragon mastery and transferred the energy into Meng Yao's body. Fortunately, Meng Yao's body wasn't like Xiao Xiao's, a bottomless pit that sucked Linny dry, even causing him to lose a level. Meng Yao was a normal person, so the amount of energy she needed was very little. To Lin Yi, it was nothing more than a drop in the ocean. Lin, he let out a breath of relief. If Meng Yao had really sucked all his energy dry like Xiao Xiao did, then it wouldn't be realistic to extend her life. He needed time to recover, right? Chapter 666. Healed in an instant, Meng Yao opened her eyes and looked at Yushu confusedly. She felt as if she had just woken up from a nap, and now she was full of energy and an indescribable sense of comfort. "Shu, did I fall asleep? Huh, where's this? Isn't this the classroom? Oh, Yao Yao sis, you're finally awake. That's great. I was worried to death." Yushu didn't answer Meng Yao's question. She held Meng Yao's hand and cheered happily. Oh, Shield Bro is so amazing. I've decided I'll continue to be with you." With that, Yushu suddenly hugged Lin Yi and kissed him on the cheek. Lin Yi was startled, but he didn't think much of it when he saw the excited Yushu. Yushu was always like this, crazy and crazy. Peng Zhan and Faubert didn't think much of it. All of their attention was on Meng Yao. "Yao Yao, you're finally awake. That's great. How do you feel?" Peng Zhan didn't expect Lin Yi to really wake Meng Yao up. This was completely out of his expectations. What confused him was that Lin Yi didn't seem to have done anything at all. All he did was hold Meng Yao's hand, and Meng Yao woke up after a while. Xu Amin was shocked as well. Xu Amin, on the other hand, was shocked as well. What had Lin Yi done? How did he make a person on the verge of death suddenly become so energetic? This was a miracle in the history of medicine. Only Faubert was deep in thought. He could roughly guess what Lin Yi did, but he didn't dare to believe it. But other than that, there was no other explanation. In the Wulin world, there was the concept of energy transfer. It referred to a person's energy, or qi, being transferred to another person through a special method. This usually happened when one of them was too heavily injured. In order to save him, the other person could only transfer his own true qi to him. Of course, there was a limit to the power imparting. The person imparting the power and the person being imparted had to be practicing the same type of cultivation technique. If the cultivation technique was different, the Jinqi in the body would naturally be different as well. Imparting power imparting rashly would not only fail to save the person, but even the person imparting the power might suffer a backlash. How did Lin Yi do it? Besides, it was one thing if Meng Yao was a practitioner of martial arts. Although the practitioner's qi was different, there were still some similarities. The problem was that Meng Yao was a normal person. How did Lin Yi pass his qi to her? Faubert was really shocked. Of course, he also understood that this kind of thing might involve the secret of the sect. It was taboo for martial artists to ask about the things of their sect. Naturally, Faubert would not ask about it. Even if he was curious, he could only keep it in his heart. I'm fine, and I feel like I'm full of energy. Why am I here? Meng Yao felt strange. Why did she feel like she was lying in the hospital? Dad and Faubert came to see her. Wasn't she in school? Yao Yao sis, we were talking at noon, and then you fainted. I was scared to death, so I sent you to the school sick bay. A lot of students fainted. Yushu said, don't you remember? I think I remember a little. I was so tired that I fell asleep. Meng Yao recalled the scene, and it seemed like it was true. Yeah. Those doctors even gave you a notice of critical condition. What a mess. Yushu said angrily. I thought I would never see you again, but Shield Bro came and cured you in an instant. Those quacks, I'll scold them later. Huh? Meng Yao saw that Yushu was so worried about her, and her heart warmed. She was just curious about the doctor giving her a notice of critical condition. Naturally, she wouldn't think that those doctors were quacks like Yushu. There must be a reason for them to do this. Perhaps Lin Yi curing her wasn't as simple as Yushu made it out to be. Meng Yao looked at Lin Yi gratefully. Thank you, Lin. It's nothing. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Meng Yao waking up was only temporary, after all. Lin Yi could feel the energy draining from Meng Yao's body, and the speed could only be described as terrifying. It wouldn't be long before Meng Yao fainted again. Yi, why don't you take a look at the other students? Xu Min asked. Yeah, Lily, can you help the other students too? Peng Zhan knew that Lin Yi's actions weren't as simple as they seemed to be after his daughter woke up. He didn't know if Lin Yi would be willing to go save someone else, and so Peng Zhan only used a negotiating tone to ask. The cheers in Meng Yao's room attracted the attention of the parents in the other rooms. When they walked out and saw that Meng Yao had woken up, they rushed into the room. Godly doctor, please save our child, I beg you. Yeah, miracle doctor, I'm begging you. Please save our children. They didn't see who it was that saved Meng Yao, but they were sure that it was one of the people in the room, so they called him a miracle doctor. The hospital had already issued a notice of critical condition anyways. So who could save a person in such a situation? If not a miracle doctor, then what was? Lin Yi looked at the parents, then at Peng Zhan, and immediately understood why Peng Zhan wanted him to save the students. If something really happened to these students, Peng Zhan's school and company would be implicated. What Peng Zhan and Lin Yi didn't know was that the direwolf had gone back to the newspaper office and made a report requesting for an extra edition of the newspaper to include the school's poisoning incident. He also wanted to update the newspaper's online version with this explosive news. This third-rate newspaper was privately owned, and it wasn't very famous. The editor was just worrying about how to increase the popularity of the newspaper, and suddenly seeing such explosive news, of course, he wouldn't let go of this opportunity to hype up. So he decided to let Direwolf follow up on this matter, reporting the progress of the investigation on the internet and a newspaper at the same time. Direwolf was overjoyed, and the title was Unknown Virus Flooding Songshan's First School, Horror Campus, or Biohazard Crisis. The report immediately went viral on the internet. One had to admit that Direwolf was very cunning, and his title was very eye-catching. The content was even more amazing, turning a news report into a horror novel, analyzing the possibility of 28 students suddenly fainting in the school. The appearance of unknown bacteria caused a new wave of infectious diseases. Chapter 667. Tang Yun's hesitation. Some even said that the school was actually a biochemical base with a lot of viruses planted inside. These students accidentally touched the source of the virus, and the biochemical crisis broke out. Of course, this was all written in a speculative tone. It was just Direwolf's personal hypothesis. If you want to say that he was slandering, it was very clear that this was just speculation. All the truth was waiting for the police to investigate. This way, no one could find fault with it. Finally, Direwolf also used a warning tone to write that this kind of scary school, even the daughter of the school's chairman, couldn't escape. Who would dare to send their own children there? Today's 28 students, will they be your children tomorrow? Cherish your life. Stay away from the first school. As soon as Direwolf's report came out, the parents of the first school students were instantly in an uproar. They all rushed to the school to ask for their children to go home. The report made it very clear that under such circumstances, who would dare to continue studying here? What if the one who fainted tomorrow was their own child? The principal and the dean were not in the school. Only the vice principal was there. He couldn't stop these parents. After all, if the parents wanted to bring their children home, he couldn't just reject them, right? Therefore, most of the students in the school were gone. The number of students left was less than a third, and they couldn't continue classes. The vice principal could only announce a temporary suspension of classes, and all students could go home. Lin Yi wasn't there, so Kong Xiaobo went to find Lu Xinwen and Tang Yun. Lu Xinwen and Tang Yun's families didn't come to the school. Tang Yun's parents were both in the hospital, and Lu Xinwen's parents were busy discussing the demolition strategy. Did boss contact you? Kong Xiaobo asked Tang Yun. No. Tang Yun shook her head. He's busy. Tang Yun didn't want to be treated as a girl who was always monitoring Lin Yi's movements. Since Lin Yi didn't say anything, she naturally wouldn't take the initiative to call him. Tang Yun, sis-in-law, do you know? Meng Yao is one of the 28 unconscious students, and the hospital has already sent out a notice of critical condition. I don't think she'll make it past tomorrow. No one will be able to compete with you anymore. Kong Xiaobo said in a low voice. Kong Xiaobo was there when Yushu ran out of the classroom with Meng Yao on her back, but he didn't know what was going on at the time. Kong Xiaobo only knew that Meng Yao had fainted after the news spread. Although Meng Yao was beautiful, and Kong Xiaobo didn't want anything to happen to Meng Yao, he was a man with a girlfriend now, and he was on Tang Yun's side. Of course, he didn't want Meng Yao to hurt Tang Yun. If Meng Yao really died, it would be pitiful, but Tang Yun wouldn't be a threat anymore. Is she also unconscious? Tang Yun was stunned after hearing Kong Xiaobo's words. She didn't think that Meng Yao would be one of the unconscious students. Although Tang Yun didn't like Meng Yao, it didn't mean that she wanted Meng Yao to die. She just didn't like Meng Yao's high and mighty attitude. But if something happened to Meng Yao, Tang Yun would still sympathize with her. After all, Meng Yao was only 19. It was the prime of her life. Yeah, I saw it with my own eyes. Sigh. Life is really unpredictable. Kong Xiaobo sighed. Meng Yao was still arguing with Tang Yun in the afternoon, and in the blink of an eye, she was lying in the hospital. Tang Yun was hesitant, really hesitant. When Tang Yun heard that Meng Yao fainted and was admitted to the hospital, her first thought was that Lin Yi was a skilled doctor, and he should have a solution. But asking Lin Yi to treat her rival in love, Tang Yun felt awkward, and she didn't feel comfortable. But she couldn't just leave Meng Yao to die, could she? A rival in love was a rival in love, and she had a fair competition. She didn't have to be afraid of her. She was Lin Yi's girlfriend now, and this was her advantage. She was only Lin Yi's employer. Thinking of this, Tang Yun felt relieved. Should she call Lin Yi? After all, Meng Yao was his employer. Since she knew, how could she just leave Meng Yao to die? Yin, what's wrong? Are you worried about Meng Yao? Lu Xinwen saw Tang Yun's hesitation and couldn't help but ask. Xinwen, I need to tell this to Lin Yi. He has medical skills, and he should be able to cure Meng Yao. I can't just leave her to die, Tang Yun said as she took out her phone. The phone was smashed once, but it wasn't damaged. Only the paint on the back was chipped. Yin, are you stupid? Meng Yao died, and there's no one to compete with you. Why do you still want Lin Yi to treat her? Lu Xinwen looked at Tang Yun strangely. She wanted to touch her forehead to see if she had a fever. Xinwen, this is a different matter. She is competing with me, and I'm not afraid of her. I can't just leave her to die like this. Tang Yun bit her lips. Although she said she wasn't afraid, she was still a little nervous. After all, Meng Yao's appearance wasn't inferior to hers, and she had a good family background. Plus, she said that the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. So, the starting line between the two could be said to be the same. The most important problem was that Meng Yao had Yushu by her side. Yushu wanted to be the second wife, and she even wanted to play 3P. Although Tang Yun was pure, she wasn't completely clueless. She knew what 3P was. She had heard the boys in her class talk about it before, and it seemed to be very attractive to them. She didn't know if Lin Yi would be able to resist the temptation. Hey, look, you don't mean it. Lu Xinwen saw the flicker in Tang Yun's eyes. She shook her head, but do what you want. If you want to fight, then fight. Okay. Tang Yun nodded and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi looked at the students' parents who rushed in. He didn't know how to explain it to them. Logically speaking, since Pengzhan had already spoken, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't shirk his responsibility. But at this moment, Lin Yi didn't have a real solution. Lin Yi sighed. Just when he was about to speak, his phone rang. This saved Lin Yi. He looked at Pengzhan apologetically and picked up the phone. Tang Yun, what's wrong? When Tang Yun had nothing to do, she usually wouldn't call him during the day. Even if she had something to do, it would be through text. Lin Yi, where are you? I heard that Meng Yao fainted and was sent to the hospital. Hurry and save her. Tang Yun gritted her teeth and said. Chapter 668. Can't save her. All right, I'm hanging up. Tang Yun didn't want to say anything else. All right, I got it. Lin Yi smiled. Lin Yi was standing right beside Meng Yao, so she heard everything Lin Yi said. Even she herself was in disbelief. She never thought that Tang Yun would call Lin Yi and ask Lin Yi to save her. Miss felt bad. She was a cold person on the outside, but warm on the inside. Even if she was a little arrogant, it was formed after living in a family like this. It wasn't a big problem. She was a kind person. Miss felt guilty when she heard that Tang Yun was worried about her. If she were Tang Yun, would she ask Lin Yi to save her? Would she? She didn't know. In actuality, Meng Yao would have asked Lin Yi to save Jiang Wen as well, just like the first time she met Jiang Wen at the theme park. Meng Yao didn't like Jiang Wen's pursuit of her, but she couldn't just stand by and watch him die when he was acting up. From this point, it could be seen that Tang Yun and Miss had something in common. They were both kind-hearted people. Thank her for me. Miss wanted to thank Tang Yun before Lin Yi hung up, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. She waited until Lin Yi hung up. Huh. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi would be happy to see Miss target Tang Yun less in the future. When Lin Yi was on the phone, the parents didn't dare to disturb him. They had heard from Pengzhan and Guan Xiumin that the person who saved Meng Yao was this ridiculously young man in front of them. So when Lin Yi hung up, he was surrounded by the parents. Miracle Doctor, can you please take a look at my child? Don't hesitate to ask for the medical fees. As long as the chairman can afford it, we'll pay for it, even if we have to sell everything we have. The parent thought that Lin Yi was a miracle doctor invited by Pengzhan. Yeah, please save our children. We won't let you do it for free. Another parent said, my family runs a company. Although it's not as big as Chairman Chu, we still have millions of assets. As long as you save my child, you can ask for as much as you want. A well-dressed parent also said, it's not that I don't want to save him, but I can't. Lin Yi had a headache and could only tell the truth. The parents froze, including Xiumin and Pengzhan. They didn't know what Lin Yi meant by that. Couldn't be saved? Lin Yi doesn't want to make a move? Faubert, on the other hand, was guessing that Lin Yi might really have used his own qi to awaken Meng Yao. However, this method had a huge impact on one's strength. If it wasn't someone important, no one would sacrifice their own strength to save someone else. Faubert was a physical practitioner. He didn't have qi in his body, but even if he did, he wouldn't use his own strength to save someone unless Pengzhan or Meng Yao were injured. But now, Pengzhan and Xiumin were asking Lin Yi to save someone else. It was obvious that they were making things difficult for Lin Yi. Miracle Doctor, you can't just leave them to die. Yeah, that's not how a miracle doctor should act. The parents panicked, but they didn't dare to say anything too overboard. After all, Lin Yi didn't have any obligation to save them. They were complimenting Lin Yi, but at the same time, they wanted Lin Yi to save them. I've said it before, it's not that I'm leaving them to die. It's just that I can't do anything right now. Lin Yi shook his head. Can't do anything? But you've already saved Chairman Chu's daughter. Yeah, miracle doctor, didn't you already cure Meng Yao? The parents didn't believe Lin Yi's words. They thought that Lin Yi was just refusing to save Meng Yao. Oh no, Yao Yao sis fainted again. Yushu suddenly screamed, pulling Meng Yao's hand in panic. She looked at Lin Yi. Shield bro, come quick. Why did Yao Yao sis faint again? Yushu's scream startled Pingzhan, Li Fu, and Guan Xiumin. The parents, on the other hand, didn't know what to do as they looked at the unconscious Meng Yao, not knowing what was going on. You guys saw it for yourself. I didn't save her. I only woke her up temporarily. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He grabbed Meng Yao's hand and checked her pulse. It was very weak, almost the same as when he first saw her. Even if she was a little stronger, it wouldn't be by much. Meng Yao's energy had been depleted, and there wasn't much left. But the good thing was that after fainting, her energy consumption was much slower than before. Even so, she wouldn't be able to live past tomorrow. The parents finally understood what Lin meant. Lin didn't actually cure Meng Yao. He only woke her up. What's going on? Xiumin and Pengzhan looked at Lin Yi, not quite sure what was going on. Shield bro, what do we do now? Why did Yao Yao sis faint again? Is she going to be okay? Yushu was panicking. She'll be fine for now, but I still need to think about how to save her. Can you guys please leave? Lin Yi looked at the parents in the ward and said, after I find a way to save her, your child's symptoms will naturally be cured. Lin Yi's words made the parents feel more at ease. At least Lin Yi wasn't ignoring them. Since that was the case, they naturally didn't dare to disturb Lin Yi anymore. They quickly left the ward, giving Lin Yi some space to think. Pengzhan hesitated for a while and said, Yi, should we leave too? Not for now. Lin Yi shook his head. He was very anxious. Although Lin Yi was quite knowledgeable about poisons and antidotes, he lacked experience. Because of his years of training outside, Lin Yi didn't have much time to learn about poisons and antidotes. He had a body full of theoretical knowledge, but he didn't know where to start. Right now, he didn't know what poison Meng Yao was poisoned with, and he didn't know where the source of the poison came from. He could only start from Meng Yao's body. If he was poisoned, how would the old man treat him? Lin Yi frowned and started thinking about the old man's treatment methods. When he was young, he was bitten by poisonous insects, and his life was in danger. At that time, the old man didn't know where the source of the poison came from, and he couldn't tell what the poison was from the symptoms. Chapter 669. Finally found a way, however. Lin Yi was a little discouraged. Acupuncture was a universal method, but the effect was different depending on the target. He was a practitioner, and his body and willpower were much stronger than a normal person. Hence, he could use acupuncture to expel the poison. The so-called acupuncture to expel poison was to use acupuncture to drive the genuine qi in the whole body, using the genuine qi to force the poison in the body to one place, and finally to expel it from the body through urine. This process was extremely painful, and it was very demanding on the physical fitness of the person being acupuncture. If the person could not withstand the genuine qi, they might die during the process of expelling the poison. Normal people couldn't use this method because the qi in a normal person's body was very small. The difference between a practitioner and a normal person was like heaven and earth. That small amount of qi was not enough to drive the poison in the body. Of course, if it was just a normal poison or a slow poison, it wouldn't be life-threatening. Even if the poison was expelled, it wouldn't require a lot of qi. Acupuncture or massage would be enough to achieve the goal. However, Meng Yao was a normal person, and the poison was fatal. Lin Yi didn't dare to use this method at all. Maybe he could keep injecting energy into Meng Yao's body to prolong her life and bring her to see Old Fart. Old Fart would definitely have a way. Lin Yi suddenly had an idea. Injecting energy into Meng Yao. His energy could be used by Meng Yao. In other words, he could transfer energy into Meng Yao's body while expelling the poison with acupuncture. The qi in Meng Yao's body originated from his body. As long as he continued to transfer energy into her body, she wouldn't run out of qi. Lin Yi was overjoyed. He didn't think that he would have to rely on his own energy in the end. He had to thank Jiao Yazi and Jiao Lao for this. If it wasn't for him, Lin Yi wouldn't have known that his qi was so useful. However, after the happiness, Lin Yi was in a difficult situation. After all, to expel the poison with acupuncture, he had to take off all his clothes. However, Miss wasn't his girlfriend. If it was Tang Yin, it would be fine, but would Miss agree? Besides, It was impossible for him to take off Meng Yao's clothes when she was unconscious. After all, Meng Yao had to cooperate when he was forcing the poison out. Grandpa Guan, could you please tell the hospital to prepare a fully enclosed ward for me? I'm going to perform acupuncture, and I need absolute silence. I can't be disturbed. Lin Yi said to Guan Shuamin after a moment of silence. Firstly, they were afraid of being disturbed, and secondly, they couldn't let anyone see Meng Yao taking off her clothes, so they needed a fully enclosed room. No problem. Guan Shuamin nodded. If Songshan First Hospital was a public-private partnership, then Guan Shuamin's words wouldn't have much influence. However, Songshan Second Hospital was completely privately owned. This meant that his son, Guan Xiaoxiang, was the biggest boss of this hospital. Even the dean had to listen to him. Putting aside his prestige in the medical world, even if he was just a normal person, his words would still carry weight in this hospital. Guan Shuamin immediately called the hospital director. Soon, a ward was cleared out in the emergency room. It was a fully enclosed operating theater. Soon, the medical staff pushed Meng Yao into the surgery room. Peng Zhan, Faubert, and Guan Shuamin didn't follow them in. Although Guan Shuamin wanted to know Lin Yi's acupuncture method, he could only give up the idea after hearing Lin Yi say that he couldn't be disturbed. I want to stay with Yao Yao sis. Yushu didn't want to leave and ran into the surgery room. Shu, don't disturb Lin Yi's acupuncture. Come out now. Peng Zhan knew the relationship between Yushu and his daughter, but he had to show his authority as an elder. He didn't want her to disturb Lin Yi. I won't. Shield bro, are you kicking me out? Yushu looked at Lin Yi pitifully, but her tone was firm. I will stay with Yao Yao sis. Huh, you don't have to leave. You can stay and help. Lin Yi didn't have the intention to kick Yushu out. After all, he was going to talk to Meng Yao about acupuncture later. If Meng Yao took it too hard, Yushu would be there to persuade her. Okay, Shield bro is the best. Yushu was happy. She could do something for Yao Yao sis now. Peng Zhan let out a breath of relief after hearing Lin Yi's words. He didn't have to worry about Yushu being Lin Yi's assistant. After all, Yushu would never harm Meng Yao. She would do her best. Lin Yi walked into the surgery room and locked the door from the inside. The room was soundproof, and no one outside could hear what was going on inside. Shield bro, are we going to save Yao Yao sis now? What do you need me to do? Yushu asked urgently. When I do acupuncture later, I need Yao Yao to take off her clothes. But Yao Yao might feel pressured. Can you help me talk to her? Lin Yi said to Yushu. Oh, okay. Yushu nodded. But Shield bro, are you trying to use this opportunity to see Yao Yao's body? Huh. Lin Yi smiled. I want to see. What's the point of discussing with her? I'll let you take off her clothes now. Oh, that's true. Yushu thought about it. She was right. Then what's the point of discussing? I'll take off Yao Yao's clothes now. I don't care if she agrees or not. Let's ask her for her opinion. Lin Yi waved his hand to stop Yushu from continuing. He held Meng Yao's wrist and channeled the art of dragon mastery. The energy in Lin Yi's body surged into Meng Yao's body quickly. Not long after, Meng Yao's eyelashes moved. She woke up again. This time, she realized that something was wrong. I fainted again? Meng Yao opened her eyes. She was in an unfamiliar room. It wasn't the isolation room. Luckily, the people in front of her were familiar people, Lin, Yi, and Shu. The energy in your body is being destroyed by the poison too fast. I can only transfer my energy to you to wake you up. But this is only temporary. If I stop, you'll faint again, Lin Yi said. Ah, Meng Yao was shocked. So that was it. She thought she had recovered. What happened to me? You're poisoned, Lin Yi said. Chapter 670. Is Yao Yao's pretty? Yes. I'll use acupuncture to force the poison out of your body, but I'll need your cooperation. Lin Yi said. How do I cooperate? Meng Yao asked. Take off your clothes, otherwise I won't be able to do the acupuncture. Lin Yi said. No way. Meng Yao was stunned and rejected subconsciously. Take off her clothes? She blushed. How could Meng Yao agree to take off her clothes in front of Lin Yi? At the very least, she wouldn't be able to get over it. This was related to her chastity. How could she let a man look at her body so casually? You can treat me as a doctor. Linny guessed that with Mrs. Personality, she wouldn't just take off her clothes in front of him. She was in pain even after drinking his drink. She was different from Yushu. Misplaced a lot of importance on this aspect. This was also why he had to ask for Meng Yao's permission. He didn't want Miss to have a knot in her heart after this. Meng Yao frowned. Linny was right. He was a doctor now, but how could she treat him as a doctor? This was a complete lie to herself. If Meng Yao let him see her naked body, how would she face him in the future? How would they live under the same roof? How awkward would that be? Besides, would she still want to get married in the future? Linny was right. Meng Yao was a girl who placed a lot of importance on her body. She wanted to give her future husband a pure body. Linny shrugged and looked at Yushu. He would leave this task to her. After all, Meng Yao would have to wait for a while before she fainted again. He didn't say anything. He walked to a chair at the side and sat down, waiting quietly. Yao sis, you have to take off your clothes. Be good, be good. Yushu knew that he had given her this task. Naturally, she had to work hard. Meng Yao couldn't help but find it funny that Yushu was talking to her like a little adult. She was usually the one telling Yushu to be good and obedient, but today it was the other way around. Shu, do you know that a girl's body can't be seen by a man? It's not that casual, I just want to show it to Shield bro, it's fine. Yushu said, but that won't do either. Only my future husband can see it. Meng Yao said, a girl's chastity is very important. We'd rather die than let people see it. I see. Yushu rolled her eyes, but her expression was one of regret. Yeah, that's why I said, let heal me with his clothes on. I won't blame him if he can't heal me. Meng Yao said with a smile as she patted Yushu's hair. Then I'll help you undress. Yushu said as she moved to help Meng Yao. Shu. Meng Yao didn't expect that her best friend wouldn't understand what she was trying to say. He hurriedly stretched out his hand to stop her. What are you doing? Didn't I tell you already? A girl's body is very precious. You can only show it to your future husband. That's right. Shield bro has seen my body, so I can only marry him and be his second wife. I'm the second wife, so you're Shield bro's first wife. So, he's your future husband. It's fine to let him see it. At most, he'll see it in advance. Am I right? Yushu said confidently. Meng Yao's eyes widened. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Yushu's words, but Shu wasn't wrong. He did see Shu naked. He even touched Shu's boobs and kissed her. It was quite intimate. But Yushu's theory of first wife and second wife was still a little hard for Meng Yao to accept. Wasn't it too far-fetched? But Meng Yao suddenly remembered that she said that she wanted to be with Shu forever and be a good sister forever. She felt a little dizzy. She didn't expect that she would overwork her brain and pass out again. Oh, Yao sis, I'll take it that you're too shy to say anything. Yushu rubbed her hands together and started peeling Meng Yao's clothes off excitedly. It didn't take long before Meng Yao was peeled off like a little lamb. Linny didn't go over, but the surgery room was only that big. Lin Yi's hearing was amazing. He could hear what Meng Yao and Yushu were talking about, but he didn't want to interrupt. He could only pretend that he didn't hear anything. Yushu, on the other hand, was taking off Meng Yao's clothes while she was unconscious. He found it funny, but he didn't stop her. He could tell that the Miss psychological barrier had loosened a little, and it wasn't possible to convince her in a short amount of time. Yushu had already taken off her clothes, and Meng Yao had no choice but to accept it. Shield bro, come here. I've already stripped Yao sis's clothes. Yushu called out to excitedly. She was no longer worried after knowing that he had a way to save Meng Yao. He heard Yushu's words and found it funny. It was as if he was a gangster and Yushu was his accomplice, helping him to harm Meng Yao. He couldn't help but hold his breath as he walked over. Although he was trying his best to control himself, he was now a doctor and he couldn't let his imagination run wild. But the person in front of him was the Mississippi. How could he not let his imagination run wild? It would be a lie to say that he didn't have any fantasies about the Mississippi. After spending so much time together, he would definitely have some thoughts about the Miss and Shu. However, he couldn't really steal the Miss's body, could he? Meng Yao's skin was fair and clear, and Lin Yi's eyes were fixed on it. He didn't want to look away. This was the first time Lin Yi looked at a girl's body openly. Although he had seen shoes before, it was an awkward situation, and he didn't get a clear look. As for Ling Shan, Lin Yi didn't dare to look too closely, but now he could look as much as he wanted. Shield bro, does Yao sis look good? Yushu noticed Lin Yi's weird expression and asked. Lin Yi wasn't stupid enough to fall for it like Jiang Wen. He didn't say anything and took a deep breath to clear his mind. Let's get ready. Oh, Yushu was disappointed that she didn't get what she wanted, but she was happy at the same time. If Shield bro was as stupid as Jiang Wen, then Yao sis wouldn't like him. Chapter 671. What you guys doing? Meng Yao felt a chill on her body when she woke up. She quickly reached her hand out and realized that she was naked. She was furious. Shu, what did you do? Oh, Yao sis, you're awake. Yushu giggled as she looked at Meng Yao. Shield bro and I are going to treat you. Don't move, we're going to start. You. Meng Yao was embarrassed and angry at the same time, but there was nothing she could do. She was already naked, and Lin Yi had probably seen everything. Meng Yao was a little depressed. Although the reason Yushu gave was barely enough to deceive herself, shouldn't she at least give herself some time to think and accept it? Taking off her clothes just like that wasn't very nice. Yao, you might feel pain and fatigue when I perform acupuncture later, but you have to hold it in and don't move. Lin Yi didn't let the two continue arguing. He started talking about the things to pay attention to during acupuncture. Oh, okay. Meng Yao had no choice but to accept reality. She felt a little better when she saw that Lin Yi wasn't looking at her like a pervert. Instead, he was talking to her like a real doctor. You'll feel the urge to pee later. I'm forcing all the toxins in your body into your excretory system. Lin Yi continued, but you have to hold it in. Don't pee directly. Only tell me when you can't take it anymore. Ah. Oh. Meng Yao's face reddened instantly. How could she not be shy when talking about sex with Lin Yi? But she knew that Lin Yi was treating her, so she only nodded to show that she understood. Shu, when Yao can't hold it anymore, use the disposable cup over there to collect the urine. Lin Yi pointed at the surgical equipment. Oh, can I just pee on the floor? It's nothing, right? Yushu looked at the disposable cup. She felt that this was a difficult task. Could she complete it? I need to make an antidote based on the poison in Yao's urine. There's still 27 unconscious students. I can't just leave them like that. Lin Yi said, whether it's for Grandpa Guan's request or for Uncle Chu's company's reputation, I have to cure those 27 students. Oh, I know. Yushu nodded. Yao sis, you have to tell me when you need to pee later. I'll go get the cups. Meng Yao was very shy. She wanted to crawl into a hole and hide herself, especially when she heard that Lin Yi was going to study her urine. But she was touched when Lin Yi said that it was for her father's company's reputation. Not only did he have to save himself, but he also had to save the remaining 27 students for the sake of his father's company's reputation. Lin Yi was just a shield that she hired. There was no need for him to do so much. He was only getting 30,000 yuan a month, but he was doing so many things that were beyond his salary. Whether it was her or Shu, Lin Yi would be the first one to appear if something happened. He seemed to be able to do anything. He was like an omnipotent babysitter. As long as Lin Yi appeared, she and Shu would be at ease. This was no longer the responsibility of follower. Meng Yao didn't know how to thank Lin Yi. At this moment, she would rather not have this employer-employee relationship with Lin Yi. Instead, they would be friends. However, if they were just friends, would Lin Yi care about her? Did he really treat her as his friend? Lin Yi, naturally, didn't know that the miss was worrying. He took out the silver needles and sterilized them with alcohol. He then said to Meng Yao, "Get ready." Okay, Meng Yao responded. At this time, Yushu also took out a disposable cup and waited at the side. Lin Yi walked around Meng Yao, trying to find a more comfortable position for him to apply the needles. However, no matter which side he stood on, it didn't feel right. This was because when Lin Yi used one hand to apply the needles, the other hand had to hold Meng Yao's hand and transfer the energy from his body to her. So, no matter if Lin Yi stood on the left or right side of Meng Yao, it would be a hindrance. Can you split your legs and let me stand between your legs? Lin Yi hesitated and suggested to Meng Yao. This was the only way it would be more convenient for Lin Yi to hold Meng Yao's hand while he applied the needles. However, this position was too ambiguous. Meng Yao didn't wear clothes and split her legs, letting Lin Yi stand between her legs. It was like a man on top of a woman in a sport. Meng Yao was startled. She was about to agree when she thought of this ambiguous position. Her face turned red instantly. She didn't know if Lin Yi did it on purpose. Why would he suggest such an embarrassing suggestion? However, Meng Yao didn't believe that Lin Yi was a shameless person. If Lin Yi really wanted to do something to her, he had plenty of opportunities to peek at her in the villa. However, he didn't do that. This was also why Meng Yao didn't have to worry about Lin Yi. Besides, if Lin Yi really had such dirty thoughts, Meng Yao would be happy even if she was angry and embarrassed. She felt that Lin Yi finally understood that there was a girl better than Tang Yin in the house. Yeah, Meng Yao replied weakly. She knew that there had to be a reason for the suggestion, so she didn't ask any more questions. She closed her eyes, her body trembling as she spread her legs apart. Okay, let's get ready. Lin Yi tried his best not to look sideways. He didn't want to see things that he shouldn't see. He walked over and stood between Meng Yao's legs. Oh, Yushu looked at Lin Yi and Meng Yao curiously. Why were they in such a weird position? It seemed like they were doing something. Yushu suddenly realized something. She couldn't help but exclaim, "Shield bro, Yao Yao, are you guys going to have sex?" Huh? Meng Yao's face darkened at Yushu's shout, and her body tensed up involuntarily. She pulled her legs in, clamping onto Lin Yi's thighs, but quickly pulled them apart upon contact. She'd done something so shameful. How was she supposed to live in the future? Chapter 672. Hold it in. Oh. Yushu shut her mouth quickly, not daring to say anything more after seeing the seriousness in the guy's voice. Let's see if I can get Lin Yi to do it one day. Lin Yi reached out with his left hand and held on to Meng Yao's right wrist as he started channeling the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi could feel the energy in his body flowing into Meng Yao's body once more. In just a short while, half of the energy he had sent into Meng Yao's body was gone. This was the first time Lin Yi had transferred energy into Meng Yao's body when she was awake. Meng Yao felt the same. She felt a warm current flowing into her body through Lin Yi's hand. And as the warm current flowed into her body, her tired body became energetic again. Meng Yao's eyes lit up. Lin Yi was not a normal person after all. She didn't know where her daddy found a person like him, but he was unbelievably strong. Would someone like him become her follower just for 30,000 kwai? But before she could think about it, the needle in Lin Yi's hand had already pierced into Meng Yao's body. The long needle went in with a flash, and Meng Yao's heart skipped a beat as she watched, but she didn't feel any pain. Meng Yao calmed down a little, relieved from her fear. You'll feel hot all over, it's normal. Don't be nervous. Lin Yi said as he quickly inserted the needle into Meng Yao's body. Yeah, it's a little hot. Meng Yao saw the serious expression on Lin Yi's face and couldn't help but let go of her shyness. She tried her best to cooperate with Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi was busy for her. Yushu, on the other hand, opened her eyes wide and stared at Meng Yao. Oh, Yao Yao, your skin's turning red like a lobster. Shu, stop messing around. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Don't distract Lin Yi. Meng Yao was infuriated. Lin Yi's eyes subconsciously moved to her body after Yushu said that, making Meng Yao very embarrassed. Oh, sorry. Yushu blinked, embarrassed. Chill, bro. You don't have to look at Yao Yao's body anymore, okay? You'll have plenty of chances to look at it later. Right now, the first task is to cure Yao Yao's sis, or else when Yao Yao's sis dies, you won't be able to see it. Yushu. Meng Yao really wanted to kick Yushu into space if she wasn't lying on the bed. Let her go provoke the aliens. Oh, I don't know anything, and I didn't say anything. Yushu quickly shut up. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. This pair of sisters was really interesting, but he had to admit that Yushu and Yao Yao's relationship was really good. When Yao Yao was unconscious, Yushu was the most nervous one, But now that Meng Yao could be saved, she started to laugh and joke around. Yao Yao, I want to feel the temperature under your armpit. This was Lin Yi's first time forcing poison out of someone, and it was a normal person at that. One could imagine how difficult it was. So every step, Lin Yi was extremely careful, not daring to make a single mistake. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Okay. Meng Yao pursed her lips. Although she was shy, she still nodded. Lin Yi stretched out his right hand and touched Meng Yao's armpit. But the moment his hand touched Meng Yao's body, Meng Yao shivered subconsciously and moved her arm, squeezing Lin Yi's hand to the side of her chest. Lin Yi felt a burst of softness. It was very comfortable. Meng Yao's chest wasn't very big. It could even be said to be a little small, but a girl who was still in puberty couldn't use this as a standard. Maybe it would grow bigger in the future, but he had to admit that it felt good. Although Lin Yi was a little reluctant to move his hand away, he still resisted the urge to touch further. Once again, he reached his hand to Meng Yao's armpit, feeling the temperature of Meng Yao's body. And it should be about time we can proceed to the next step. Yushu's mouth moved. She wanted to say something, but after seeing Yao Yao's murderous gaze, she shut her mouth. Okay, we can proceed to the next step. Lin Yi put away the silver needles on Meng Yao's body and then quickly inserted the silver needles on a few acupoints. You will feel a very strong pain later. This is the pure qi in your body forcing the poison together, forcing it into your excretion system. You have to endure it. If it is too painful, you can shout out. Meng Yao nodded and said firmly, I can endure it. After a while, Meng Yao's face contorted into a painful grin. She felt as if there were ants crawling into her body. These ants seemed to be moving something from her body towards her abdomen. This feeling was painful and itchy. It was very uncomfortable. She wanted to use her hands to scratch, but one of her hands was grabbed by Lin Yi, and the other didn't dare to move. She could only grit her teeth and endure it silently. Shu, go grab Yao Yao's hand. Lin Yi could see Meng Yao's pain. How painful this pain was, Lin Yi couldn't remember, because the last time Lin Yi was poisoned was more than 10 years ago. But to Lin Yi, this pain to Lin Yi was nothing compared to the old man's torture. Oh, okay. Yushu quickly grabbed Meng Yao's left hand, said, Yao Yao, if you feel uncomfortable, you can squeeze my hand. I'm not afraid of pain. Meng Yao looked at Shu and forced a smile. I'm fine, it's not painful, I can endure it. However, anyone who saw Meng Yao's expression could tell that she was reluctant, because her expression betrayed her. She's fine, Lin Yi said faintly. I could endure this pain even when I was 9, not to mention she's already 19. Meng Yao was a little annoyed. I'm a girl, okay? But thinking that although Lin Yi was a boy, he could endure it even when he was 9, he was still a kid at that time. He was even worse than a kid. So, Meng Yao clenched her teeth. No, I have to endure it. How can I lose to a kid? Actually, Lin Yi said it on purpose to motivate Meng Yao. Otherwise, Meng Yao wouldn't be able to endure it. I need to pee. Meng Yao finally had the urge to pee and said quickly. Chapter 673. It's raining again, oh. Okay, I'll hold it in. Meng Yao, of course, wouldn't let Lin Yi's efforts go to waste. Lin Yi's left hand continued to transfer energy as his right hand kept changing the acupuncture points. Meng Yao's face was getting paler and paler, and the sweat on her forehead was getting thicker and thicker. It was obvious that she was in pain. Yao Yao, sis, you can do it. You're the best. You've always been Shu's idol. Yushu held Meng Yao's hand tightly as she cheered. Yeah. Meng Yao smiled bitterly as her voice changed. Shu, I'm in so much pain. I know. If I could replace you, I'd rather suffer for you. Yushu said from the bottom of her heart. Why would I let you suffer for me? It's lucky that I'm the one poisoned this time, not you. Meng Yao smiled. Don't worry, I'm not that weak. It's painful, but I can hold on. Lin Yi had Yushu stay here for this reason. Yushu could talk to Meng Yao without listening and cheer her on. She could also let Meng Yao hold on. Otherwise, Lin Yi really wouldn't know how to persuade Meng Yao. Meng Yao's need to pee was getting stronger and stronger, but she remembered Lin Yi's words. She couldn't just pee out easily. What if the poison couldn't be expelled? Not only would Lin Yi's efforts go to waste, but she'd also suffer for nothing. So Meng Yao endured and endured, but there was a limit to how much she could endure. Finally, Meng Yao couldn't hold it in anymore. I can't hold it in anymore, Shu. Quick. Oh, I'm coming. Yushu had put the disposable cup aside in order to hold Meng Yao's hand. She was panicking, but she couldn't find it. Where's the cup? Where did I put it? Quick, Shu. I can't hold it in anymore. Meng Yao thought that Shu would come over with the cup after she talked to her, but Yushu lost it. Wasn't she just hurting herself? Found it. I'm coming. Yushu finally saw the disposable cup on the ground behind her. She picked it up and ran over. Lin Yi, on the other hand, let go of Meng Yao's hand and stepped back after inserting the last needle. I can't take it anymore. Meng Yao was on the verge of bursting into tears. How could she hold it in any longer? He didn't care if Shu came or not, and he peed right away. Lin Yi had just taken 2 steps back when he felt a stream of water falling from the sky, drenching his head and face. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in when she realized that she had sprayed all over Lin Yi's face and body. He hated Shu to the core. How could she drop the ball at such a crucial moment? Meng Yao wanted to hold it back, but how could she? Once released, it would be like a flood bursting through a dam. He had already endured it for a long time. Lin Yi was also dumbfounded by this sudden scene. He stood there in a daze, staring at the miss with his mouth agape. Get out of the way. Meng Yao panicked. She saw that Lin Yi was still standing there, staring at her without blinking. Meng Yao almost fainted. Ugh! Lin Yi came back to his senses and quickly dodged to the side, smiling bitterly. This really was an eye for an eye. He had drenched Pinliang, Xiaofu, and Xiao Xiao, and now it was the mist's turn to drench him. But that moment seemed pretty exciting. Lin Yi's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. He remembered a scene he saw in a movie. Why did it sound like a legendary scene? Yushu, too, was dumbfounded. She didn't expect Lin Yi to get drenched. When she turned around, she quickly ran to Meng Yao's side and helped her catch the urine. Oh, it's raining in the operating room, too. Yao, sis, you're so awesome. Meng Yao didn't expect Yushu to still be in the mood to tease her. She glared at her. Not in a good mood? Why didn't it kill you? Oh, I don't mind, it's fine, Yushu said nonchalantly. Look, Yao, it's all over me, too. Shu, you don't have to answer it. Lin Yi said to Yushu, shaking off the unhealthy thoughts in his head. Oh, you don't have to? Yushu blinked. Yep. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I was going to catch some urine to check if there's any poison in it, but it's much easier now. I'll just put it in my mouth. I already know what the poison is. Lin Yi didn't think that he had any perverted tendencies or hobbies, but he didn't feel any disgust when he said it. Was it because she was the miss? Or was it because he had other intentions towards her? Meng Yao wanted to dig a hole and hide in it after hearing Lin Yi say that he put the urine in his mouth. It was over. It was really over now. Why was she so useless? Couldn't she hold it in a little longer and wait for Shu to come? How was she going to face Lin Yi in the future? How was she going to get along with him? Wow, Shield Bro is so amazing. He knew what the poison was just by tasting it. Yushu tossed the disposable cup on the ground when she heard that she didn't have to take it anymore, and the pee splattered all over the floor. Meng Yao was speechless. Couldn't Shu be cleaner? How could she just throw it on the ground? But when she remembered that she had wet the entire operating room, she understood Shu's actions. Since it was the same no matter where she put it, she might as well throw it on the ground. I'll go out first. Yaya should be fine now. Lin Yi saw Meng Yao's awkwardness and decided to leave the operating room first. Shu, help Yao get dressed when she's done resting. Oh, okay. Yushu nodded. Meng Yao wanted to say thank you, but she couldn't say it. She really didn't know how to face Lin Yi. She really didn't know. Lin Yi casually wiped his wet hair. Fortunately, there wasn't any weird smell. Otherwise, Lin Yi would be embarrassed when he went out. Lin Yi opened the door of the operating room and walked out quickly. He didn't wait for Pingzhan and Xu Min to see what was going on inside before he closed the door. In fact, even if they could see clearly, they wouldn't be able to see Meng Yao. There was a screen beside the bed in the operating room. Lin Yi, Peng Zhan, and Xu Min came up at the same time, looking at Lin Yi expectantly. Chapter 674. Poison Prescription. This is great. This is great. Peng Zhan was overjoyed after hearing Lin Yi's words. He wanted to rush into the surgery room immediately, but Lin Yi stopped him. Although Peng Zhan and Meng Yao were father and daughter, Meng Yao was already a grown-up. It wouldn't be appropriate for Peng Zhan to see her naked. The most important thing is Chu Peng Zhan will definitely know that he also saw Yao Yao, who was not wearing any clothes. Uncle Chu, please don't go in yet. Meng Yao is still a little weak. Why don't you wait for her outside the surgery room? Lin Yi said. I'm sorry, I was too rash. Peng Zhan quickly nodded and stopped in his tracks. Miracle Doctor, have you cured Meng Yao? Can you take a look at my child now? Yes, Godly Doctor, I beg you, can you save him now? The parents were overjoyed when they heard Lin Yi say that Meng Yao was fine. They didn't dare to interrupt because they didn't want to piss Lin Yi off when he was talking to Peng Zhan. Now that Lin Yi was done talking, they started asking questions. Lin Yi looked at the parents. He could understand their feelings, but Lin Yi really didn't have the time to cure them one by one. First of all, he was tired, and there were female students among them. Lin Yi wasn't familiar with them, and he couldn't just ask them to take off their clothes one by one. Could he? Besides, it'd be disgusting if he got pee all over them. Lin Yi didn't have any bad feelings towards the miss, but Lin Yi didn't like it when it came to the others. I'll save them, but I've used up the antidote. I need to discuss it with Grandpa Guan and come up with some more. Lin Yi said to the parents before turning to Xu Min. Grandpa Guan, let's talk somewhere with fewer people. Lin Yi's words were half-truths, and the parents couldn't help but believe him. They were very happy that Lin Yi was willing to save their children, but they were still worried when they heard that the antidote was gone. But since Lin Yi promised to make some more, he wouldn't lie to them. All right. Xu Min was overjoyed. Lin Yi probably knew how to cure the poison, but he couldn't say it in front of the parents. Lin Yi and Xu Min came to the isolation room where Meng Yao was. Lin Yi closed the door and said to Xu Min, it's indeed an ancient poison called deadly 7 herbs poison. The antidote was lost in the Ming dynasty, but the Tang sect collected it again at the end of the Qing dynasty and made a new antidote. Although the effect isn't immediate, it can be cured within 3 days if you increase the dosage. After a month of rest, you'll be no different from a normal person. Lin Yi didn't waste any time and told them what he knew. Oh, deadly 7 herbs poison. Xu Min's eyes widened in shock. There's still someone who knows the recipe of this poison? From Xu Min's point of view, this deadly 7 herbs poison was a legendary existence. Not only was the antidote lost, but even the recipe itself was long gone. And not only did Lin Yi know the recipe, but he also knew the antidote. Normal people don't know about it, but some ancient medical families should know about it. Lin Yi said faintly, as for the antidote, I'm afraid they don't know about it either. Xu Min couldn't help but be moved. We're going to make the antidote now. Yes, I'll write down the recipe and the antidote for you later. Lin Yi said, give the poison recipe to the police directly, but don't tell anyone about the antidote. Go get the medicine yourself and go to Fatty Lie's medicine factory to purify it. Try to make the antidote by tomorrow morning. Those students can at least last until tomorrow night, but I can't say for sure if they can last any longer than that. Xu Min didn't expect Lin Yi to write down the poison recipe and the antidote for him directly. This made him feel flattered. How much trust did this require? The recipe for this ancient poison, deadly 7 herbs poison, was already hard to come by, but Lin Yi actually had the antidote for it. This was a priceless treasure for a medical student. Okay, I'll do it properly. Xu Min nodded solemnly. This is a good chance to hype up the company, talk to Fatty Lie, and see if he has any good ideas. Lin Yi thought of using the antidote to hype up the company, but how exactly to do it wasn't Lin Yi's expertise. He needed Fatty Lie to do it. This Fatty Lie is good at it. I'll talk to him. Miracle Dr. Guan nodded. Lin Yi didn't say anything else. He wrote down the recipe and gave it to Xu Min before leaving the isolation room. Meng Yao and Yushu had already left the surgery room and were talking to Peng Zhan. Meng Yao seemed to be in good spirits. When the Miss saw Lin Yi, she coldly shifted her gaze to the side and didn't bother with him. Meng Yao felt guilty. She actually wanted to say thank you to Lin Yi, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. It was fine that Lin Yi saw and touched her, but she even peed on Lin Yi's face and body. How could Meng Yao face Lin Yi like nothing had happened? She was afraid that she would not be able to get over this hurdle in her heart. Lin Yi could guess what the Miss was thinking, but he didn't talk to her, in case she felt awkward. Yushu, on the other hand, was excitedly telling Pingzhan how amazing Shield Bro was and how strong Yao Yao Sis was. But Yushu wasn't an idiot in front of everyone. She didn't say a word about Meng Yao taking off her clothes and peeing on Lin Yi's face. I really have to thank you this time. Pingzhan saw Lin Yi and walked over excitedly, patting his shoulder. If it wasn't for you. Yao Yao, Uncle Chu, it's what I should do. Lin Yi smiled, not arrogant. Besides, I didn't treat Yao Yao as an outsider. Good. Pingzhan nodded. If that's the case, you're part of our Chu family from now onwards. Half of my family business will be yours. All the parents were shocked when they heard Pingzhan's words. They didn't expect Pingzhan to say this, but they thought that maybe it was because Lin Yi saved Meng Yao's life, so Pingzhan was happy that he made this promise to Lin Yi. Chapter 675. The Tragedy. In Jiangwen Chapter 675, The Tragedy. Lin Yi didn't think much of it. He shrugged his shoulders. He had Guanghua's shares in his hands. He was already the second biggest shareholder of Pengzhan Industries. Pengzhan seemed to have thought of this as well. He felt a little embarrassed. He had neglected the fact that Lin Yi was also a shareholder. But thinking about it, Lin Yi really didn't lack his family's assets. However, seeing that Lin Yi didn't have any special expression, Pengzhan calmed down. Lin Yi didn't want to deal with these parents here. He just wanted to make sure that Meng Yao was fine. Then he said to Pengzhan, Uncle Chu, I'll go out for a while. I'll come back after Grandpa Guan comes back. Okay, go do what you need to do. Pengzhan nodded. Lin Yi planned to visit Tang Yin. After what happened today, Lin Yi felt that he had wronged Tang Yin. His relationship with the Miss would become more and more complicated in the future. Meng Yao, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi's back. She wanted to say something, but she didn't. Her face was still cold. At the entrance of Songshan's First People's Hospital, Jiang Wen, who had one of his kidneys removed, was sent to the emergency room. The hospital carried out emergency treatment on Jiang Wen and quickly called the police. The police had already informed the hospital that if they encountered any other victims who had their kidneys removed, they must first rescue them and then contact the police immediately. Lingshan didn't expect that on the day the kidney trafficking organization was eliminated, there would still be another case of kidney removal. This meant that they were still committing crimes today. Lingshan quickly sent Lu Wangli and the others to the hospital. On one hand, they were protecting the victims. On the other hand, they were preparing to collect evidence of the kidney trafficking organization. The victims were the most important witnesses. The interrogation at the police station wasn't difficult at all. As the leader of the organization, the tattooed man didn't put up much resistance. Very quickly, he confessed his crimes. The entire kidney trafficking organization was led by him, and Dr. Wang was forced by him to embark on the path of crime. This was also the promise he made to Dr. Wang. As for how to sell the kidney, the tattooed man had also provided the contact information of several black intermediaries in the city. Before he was caught, he had already called those black intermediaries to inform them. Now that they had all run away, it was impossible to catch them again. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. The tattooed man had also provided the contact information of several black intermediaries. Lingshan couldn't do anything about the tattooed guy's cleverness and willingness to take responsibility for what he had done. She followed the tattooed guy's lead and found the black middlemen, but they were long gone. According to the tattooed man, they used fake names when they traded, and they had never really met each other. So, the police couldn't find any useful clues at all. Although Lingshan was angry, there was nothing she could do. Fortunately, the kidney trafficking organization's case was closed. As for those black intermediaries, they weren't in the city, so the police would deal with them. Lingshan didn't want to cause trouble for herself. When Jiang Wen woke up, he realized that he was lying in a strange place. This place seemed to be a hospital ward. Immediately, he felt extreme pain on the left side of his waist. He wanted to reach out and touch it, but he didn't have any strength at all. The anesthesia had just worn off, but his strength hadn't recovered yet. Where am I? Is anyone there? Jiang Wen panicked and started yelling. The anesthesia had just worn off, and Jiang Wen's mind was still a little fuzzy. He couldn't remember what happened just now. Sir, you're awake? One of Lu Wangli's men called Zhang Juli walked over and said to Jiang Wen, I'm Zhang Juli from the city's first criminal investigation team. I'm... Jiang Wen was startled. How did he get the police to come here? Sir, I have to tell you a very unfortunate news. Your left kidney was cut off by a criminal organization. Zhang Juli looked at Jiang Wen sympathetically and said, Why? Jiang Wen's eyes widened. What? His own kidney was cut off? How is that possible? The kidney trafficking organization was his. Who would dare to cut off his own kidney? Wait, Linny. Jiang Wen suddenly thought of Lin. He recalled the scene at that time. In the preparation room, Lin Yi suddenly woke up and knocked him out. Could it be that Dr. Wang didn't recognize him? Did he think that he was Lin Yi and cut off his kidney? Jiang Wen wanted to cry. What the hell was going on? His kidney was cut off. This was really a case of being smart for a lifetime, but dumb for a moment. The head of the kidney trafficking organization had his kidney cut off. Wouldn't people laugh their teeth off if this news got out? Jiang Wen wanted to call the tattooed guy immediately to ask about the situation, but he couldn't do so since the police were here. Although he was anxious, he could only be patient and said, Sir, what are you? I was sent by the captain to protect your safety. Zhang Juli said, But don't worry, the kidney trafficking organization has been destroyed by the police. You're safe now, Wah. Destroyed? Jiang Wen suddenly felt dizzy. The kidney trafficking organization was destroyed? How is that possible? How could it be destroyed? Sir, you don't have to be afraid. Zhang Juli thought that Jiang Wen was scared, so he quickly said, From the looks of it, the main members of the organization have been arrested. However, in order to prevent the remaining members of the kidney trafficking organization from doing anything harmful to you, we will be at the hospital 24 hours to protect your safety. Jiang Wen rolled his eyes and fainted on the spot. His kidney was cut off, and the kidney trafficking organization was destroyed. How could Jiang Wen not faint? Sir, what's wrong? Zhang Juli was shocked. He thought that Jiang Wen's body was weak. He quickly pressed the button to call the doctor and get the doctor to save Jiang Wen. Kong Mingming got to know Guan Xian after the coincidental meeting at the bookstore. However, because of Lin Yi's appearance, he lost a lot of face. This made Kong Mingming very unhappy, but he couldn't do anything about it. This afternoon, Kong Mingming came to the Songshan First Hospital with a bouquet of flowers. However, he didn't go to Guan Xian directly. Instead, he walked around the hospital a few times and let everyone see him. Even Guan Xian, who was in the office, saw him. Only then did he create a coincidental meeting. What a coincidence! Guan Xian, you are here. Kong Mingming welcomed her with a smile. Chapter 676. Bad start, hiya. Kong Mingming saw Guan Xian's expression and knew that she misunderstood that he was going around the hospital to create a chance encounter. He quickly explained, I'm here to visit a friend today. He's in the hospital, but I couldn't find him. I called him just now and found out that he was discharged already. I was wondering why I couldn't find him. Oh, I see. Then go visit your friend. I have to work. Guan Xian clearly didn't want to talk to Kong Mingming anymore. Yeah, I'm going now. All right, take this bouquet of flowers. It's not convenient for me to bring them around. Kong Mingming handed the bouquet of flowers to Guan Xian. You're visiting a patient, buying roses? Guan Xian wasn't stupid. Why would she believe Kong Mingming's bullshit? It's a female patient. Kong Mingming blinked, but he reacted quickly and changed his words. A female patient buying roses? Your girlfriend, right? Guan Xian smiled. Kong Mingming didn't expect Guan Xian to be able to find flaws in his words despite her meek appearance. It was the same in the bookstore, and it was the same now. It seemed like this girl wasn't going to be easy to pick up. It was going to be difficult. What girlfriend? She's my bro's girlfriend. I'm actually here on his behalf. Kong Xiaoming had an idea and said, actually it's like this. My bro got into a fight with his girlfriend, and she got so mad that she left the house. She stayed outside for a whole night and caught a cold. My bro wanted to apologize, but he couldn't let go of his pride, so he asked me to come and apologize on his behalf. I didn't think that the couple would have already made up when I called. I came here for nothing. Kong Xiaoming felt that the reason he came up with was very powerful. He was a genius. Oh, since you don't need this flower anymore, I'll help you put in the hospital vase. Guan Xian knew that if she didn't accept the flowers, Kong Ming wouldn't stop. So she took the roses from Kong Ming and put them in a vase in the hallway. Kong Xiaoming saw that things had reached this point, and there was nothing he could do. He could only say bitterly, that's right. It's pretty here. Guan Xian, I'll be leaving now. Keep in touch. Goodbye. Guan Xian nodded and went back to her office. Guan Xian felt that she shouldn't have gone to the washroom. She didn't want to meet Kong Xiaoming, this annoying person. Kong Ming sighed. He felt like he should change his approach. Guan Xian was different from the other girls. Based on Kong Xiaoming's previous experience, girls who had never had a boyfriend before were very innocent and easy to get. But with Guan Xian, he ran into a wall. After Kong Ming left, a nurse who was close to Guan Xian, Li Xiaomei, looked at the roses in the hallway and curled her lips. He's so rich. 99 roses, that's at least 300 kwai, and he just threw it away like that. It's his money. What does it have to do with us? Guan Xian smiled. Why, do you like it? Introduce me to you? Forget it. Even though I dream of finding a rich man, he's obviously not my type. He's a playboy, and he probably ditches women after he's done with them. How can I give myself to him? Li Xiaomei obviously didn't care about Kong Ming. Li Xiaomei knew her place. Even though she was pretty, there was still a huge gap between her and Guan Xian. She also knew that she wouldn't catch the eye of a rich man like Guan Xian. Instead of being played for free, she'd rather find a rich man who could support her for the rest of her life. Guan Xian didn't agree or disagree with Li Xiaomei's dream. Everyone had their own life, and Li Xiaomei's family wasn't well off. It was normal for her to want to find a rich man to support her for the rest of her life. If he wanted to find someone he truly loved, that was also his freedom. So, if even you can tell he's not a good person, then why should I still take his flowers? Guan Xian shook her head. All right, let's get back to work. You'll get scolded when the head nurse gets here. You're the daughter of a rich family. Who would dare scold you? Do you want to stay here or not? Li Xiaomei and Guan Xian were classmates when they were in school, so she knew a little about Guan Xian's family background. She knew that Guan Xian's father was a major shareholder of the hospital, and her grandfather was the famous miracle Dr. Guan. No one knows who I am, and even if they do, it's not like I'm special. Guan Xian said as she started to work, if you don't want a bonus, then go back to daydreaming. All right, I'm coming. Li Xiaomei quickly followed Guan Xian. Before I find a rich man, I still care about the bonus. Kong Ming gloomily walked out of the hospital and got into a Porsche Cayenne. His two lackeys, Zhu Xiaozhong and Wang Shubing, were in the car. Master Ming, how was it? Did you give the flowers away? Zhu Xiaozhong asked. Xiaozhong, aren't you asking a question you already know the answer to? Didn't you see that Master Ming came back empty-handed? He must have given them away. Wang Shubing said, Fuck, don't talk about it. Another fucking bad start. Kong Ming waved his hand in annoyance and sat in the front passenger seat. What's wrong, Master Ming? Your flowers. Zhu Xiaozhong saw Kong Ming was cursing, and he couldn't help but be stunned. I did give the flowers away to the hospital. Kong Ming was very annoyed. This girl isn't easy to hook. She's a fucking smart person. She looks gentle and soft, but she's actually very smart. Damn, she sent me back, and the flowers were directly placed in the vase in the corridor of the hospital. Zhu Xiaozhong and Wang Shubing heard this and couldn't help but look at each other. Originally, they thought that if Kong Ming made a move, wouldn't it be a piece of cake? They didn't expect to have 2 consecutive bad starts. Next time, looks like we have to use a different method to get close to her. The current coincidental encounter is too low level. We can't fool her. Kong Ming Ming waved his hand and said, "Let's think about it and see if there are any good ideas. Let's all brainstorm and come up with an idea." Didn't we use money to pick up girls in the past? Zhu Xiaozhong thought hard, but he couldn't come up with a good plan. He was usually very arrogant and straightforward, so there were a lot of gold diggers who fooled around with him. Chapter 677. Tank Top Bro This. Ming Bro, I have an idea. Wang Shubing, who had been quiet all this time, finally spoke, but I'm afraid that you'll have to suffer a bit. Oh, you have an idea? Hurry up and tell me. If it's really useful, I'm willing to suffer a bit. Although Kong Xiaoming didn't like to suffer, from his point of view, hitting on girls was to have fun. If he suffered, then how would he be able to hit on girls? Wasn't that just asking for trouble? He'd rather not hit on girls. He had plenty of targets anyway, and it wasn't like he didn't have any. But Guan Xian was different. Hitting on Guan Xian and getting the secret recipe from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was Kong Ming Ming's current mission. Whether or not he could get a good position in the family depended on this one move. Although Zhao Long didn't show much hostility towards Kong Ming Ming, Kong Ming knew that if he kept being useless, Zhao Long wouldn't be nice to him after his grandpa died. Master Ming, think about it. Guan Xian is a nurse at Songshan's Songshan First Hospital, right? Wang Shubing started to analyze. Isn't that obvious? Why are you asking when you already know the answer? Kong Ming Ming wasn't too happy. Of course she's a nurse at Songshan First Hospital. Didn't I tell you before? Young Master Ming, let me finish speaking. Wang Shubing said, Guan Xian is a nurse at Songshan First Hospital. Then tell me, who is the person she interacts with the most? Doctor? Kong Ming Ming thought about it and said, Damn, you're not thinking of making me a doctor, are you? I'm not interested in that. Young Master Ming, how can you become a doctor in one day? Wang Shubing smiled bitterly. This is a terrible idea, and it's not something that I, strategist Wang, would come up with. Oh, then what do you mean? Kong Ming Ming relaxed when he heard that he wasn't going to be a doctor. Patients. Of course, nurses have the most contact with patients every day. So I want you to be the patient. Wang Shubing said, You want me to pretend to be sick and get close to Guan Xian? Kong Ming Ming's eyes lit up. This was a great idea. Why didn't he think of it before? If he became a patient, wouldn't he be able to interact with Guan Xian every day? You can't pretend to be sick. Like you said, Guan Xian isn't stupid. She'll be able to tell if you're pretending to be sick. Wang Shubing waved his hand and said, If you want to be sick, then you have to be really sick. This is why I said you have to suffer a little. Really sick. That's a good idea. Xiaoming nodded. Then how do you think I should get sick? Well, normally, if you have a normal fever, you can stay in the hospital. As long as you're willing to pay, there's no reason for the hospital to refuse, right? Okay, then I'll have a fever and a cold. This is easier. Other diseases, even if I want to, are not easy to get. Kong Ming Ming also felt that the only way to get close to Guan Xian was if he stayed in the hospital. But it's not easy to catch a cold today, is it? Kong Ming Ming looked at the sunny sky outside the car window. The weather in April was already very hot. It didn't seem easy to catch a cold. That's why we have to suffer a little. Wang Shubing said, I know there's an ice hockey rink nearby. Master Ming, let's go sit there. Fine. Kong Ming Ming gritted his teeth. For the sake of picking up girls, for the sake of his family status, he would endure it. He had to succeed this time. So what if he suffered a little? As a result, Kong Ming Ming and his team arrived at the ice hockey arena. Under everyone's astonished gaze, they walked into the ice rink. Zhu Xiaozhong and Wang Shubing both wore thick, warm ice hockey jerseys. Kong Ming Ming, on the other hand, wore a short-sleeved tank top and shorts. He gritted his teeth as he sat in the audience seats. Damn, man. The people in the arena saw Kong Ming Ming's outfit and couldn't help but exclaim, Isn't he too awesome? He's a tank top bro. A girl took out her phone and was about to take a photo of Kong Ming Ming and post it on the internet. A new generation of bro was born. Kong Ming Ming was originally shivering in the cold, but hearing the people in the arena praise him, Kong Ming's vanity was immediately satisfied. He even did a pose with the girl who took the photo. Look at him, his body is so healthy. He's wearing a tank top and shorts here. A bespectacled man said enviously, "We can't do it. Our bodies are weak after playing too much with women. We can't stand the cold." Kong Ming Ming was proud of himself. He thought to himself, "I've played with a lot of women, but look at me, I'm a legend." Kong Ming Ming was feeling proud of himself. Suddenly, he felt a chill and couldn't help but sneeze. His mucus also sprayed out, smearing everywhere. It was sticky and disgusting. Fuck, he's not a tough guy, but a pretentious guy. I thought he wasn't cold. The person who sighed before couldn't help but despise Kong Ming Ming when he heard him sneeze. The expression of the young lady who was taking pictures with her phone suddenly became interesting. It seemed that Tank Top Bro was going to become Pretentious Bro or Pervert Bro. As for the bespectacled man, he looked at Kong Ming Ming sympathetically and said, "Bro, are you worse than me? I didn't even sneeze when I'm so weak. Aren't you too lame?" Kong Ming Ming was instantly embarrassed and angry. His face turned red, but he couldn't refute. Zhu Xiaozhong, on the other hand, couldn't stand it anymore. He stood up and pointed at the people who were talking. He shouted arrogantly, "What the fuck are you looking at? Have you never seen cultivation before? Master Ming came here to cultivate. What do you people know? Cultivation? He came here to cultivate with mucus coming out of his nose." Was there something wrong with his brain? Those people shook their heads speechlessly and ignored Kong Ming Ming. Although Kong Ming Ming lost face, he thought his plan to pick up girls. He had to persevere. He couldn't give up halfway. He had to cultivate until he caught a cold. Kong Ming Ming sneezed again. The media in Songshan, under the lead of the direwolf, was almost one-sided. They were all attacking Songshan's first school, describing it as the devil's first school. In fact, other than the interview with the direwolf, Chu Pengzhan and Ding Binggong didn't face any media again. Even if the media wanted to enter the emergency room, they wouldn't get permission from the hospital. So the latest development of the matter was unknown to the media. Chapter 678. Press conference. After all, the power of the media was terrifying. It could sway a lot of people who didn't know the truth, and these people would rather believe it than not. Since the school was so scary, who would dare to let their children continue to study here? However, at this critical moment, the CEO of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, Lai Changyi, called for an emergency press conference. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company had been the focus of the media and the public ever since it was established. Although the Miracle Dr. Guan medical company's Miracle Dr. Guan Injury Medicine wasn't officially on the market yet, the company's name was already very famous. There was no other reason. Although the news of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's outstanding performance at Yinjing's house-use auction was only spread among the noble houses and wealthy merchants, the all-pervasive media quickly got wind of it and reported on Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company continuously. There was no lack of rumors, such as the fact that Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company had mastered the technology to bring the dead back to life. Of course, these were all derived from the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. But Fatty Lai didn't go out to refute the rumors, because these reports were all rumors. With this hype, he didn't even need to advertise himself, and directly hyped up the name of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. So when Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company called for an emergency press conference, all the media in Songshan sent their reporters to the press conference as soon as they received the news. Although the media's attention was on the fainting incident of Songshan's first school, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's press conference was also very important. The media that didn't take the lead in the fainting incident focused their attention on this press conference, hoping to get some first-hand information from the press conference. The press conference was held in Fatty Lai's newly built skyscraper, which would become the headquarters of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. The building and trading company downstairs were also contributed by Fatty Lai for free and merged into Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. The construction company would be responsible for the construction of the factory, and the trading company would be responsible for the sales of the produced medicine. Fatty Lie's wife was a little reluctant to give away all of his assets, but Fatty Lie didn't care about his wife's opinion at all. From his perspective, his wife had long hair but short brains. How is this even possible? If he followed Lin Yi in the future, what else could he not want? Lin Yi's medical skills were superb. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he could bring the dead back to life. As his follower, how could Fatty Lie not benefit from it? Fatty Lie felt a sense of satisfaction he had never felt before as he looked at the packed press area. Back when he was running his company, he'd probably have to bribe some reporters to attend his press conference, and the number was only a third of what it was now. But now, he didn't need to invest anything. All he needed to do was release a piece of news, and these reporters came to him. It couldn't be helped. Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine company's product wasn't even on the market yet, but they already had a name. Thank you for joining the press conference of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. I am Lai Changyi. Fatty Lie walked up to the stage with a smile on his face. The main topic of this press conference is the mass coma incident in Songshan First School. If you are here for our company's new product, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. The reporters were stunned by Fatty Lie's words. Why was it Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's turn to hold a press conference for the fainting incident of the Songshan First School? Even if there was a press conference, it should be held by Songshan First School or Pengjian Industries, right? Or it could be the police. But Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was the only company that had nothing to do with this incident. Why would they hold a press conference to release news related to the fainting incident of the Songshan First School? No matter how they looked at it, the reporters found it strange. Although it was strange, they were still very excited. Not only were they not disappointed, they were glad that they came to the right place. Because the fainting incident of the Songshan First School was the headline of all the media, they were all trying to find out the truth behind the incident. Fatty Lie's press conference was related to this incident. How could they not be happy? First of all, I want to say that the rumors in the society are not true. What terrifying schools, unknown virus base. It's all nonsense. Fatty Lie knew about the relationship between Lin Yi and Miss Chu, so he held this press conference not only to promote his Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, but also to restore the Songshan First School's reputation. Fatty Lie's words made the reporters below the stage blush with shame. They had also published reports like terrifying campus biochemical base with unknown virus before, but they were just following the trend. Fatty Lie's denial of the news made the reporters perk up. After our Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's clinical research and analysis, we have found the cause of the fainting students. It's confirmed that it's caused by poison. Fatty Lie's words shocked all the reporters present. Didn't the hospital say that it wasn't poison? And they couldn't find the cause of the fainting? A reporter below the stage couldn't help but ask. Indeed, if we used normal methods, we wouldn't be able to find the cause of the fainting. Because the poison that these students were poisoned with is an extremely rare 1,000-year poison. Fatty Lie said, everyone knows that our Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company is a company dedicated to medical research and development. Whether it's the research ability or the team of experts, they are all internationally advanced. Therefore, after the unremitting efforts of our team of experts, we finally analyzed that this 1,000-year-old poison is a kind of strong poison made from 7 kinds of Chinese herbs. It is called deadly 7 herbs poison, a kind of 1,000-year-old poison that has been lost for thousands of years. After this poison is consumed, it will be absorbed by the body quickly, and then it will destroy the body's physiological functions. If we don't treat them in time, they will die in at most 3 days. This poison is made from pure Chinese herbs. It's very difficult to detect it using normal chemical methods. So this is why the hospital didn't detect it before. Because the smell of many Chinese herbs is similar to seasoning, it won't arouse suspicion. Chapter 679. Fatty Lie seizes the opportunity. Deadly 7 herbs poison. Millennium poison. Can't detect it? It's similar to seasoning? The reporters gasped in shock. Fatty Lie's words were a little too inconceivable, and they couldn't accept it for a while. Wasn't this too unbelievable? He even brought out the 1,000-year poison? Are you serious? If it's a millennium poison, then why don't people know about it? How did you analyze it? A reporter began to ask questions. This reporter was in cahoots with Direwolf. He was Direwolf's underling. The Direwolf was busy following up on the fainting incident, and this press conference was attended by his follower. Haha, I've said it before, this millennium poison is lost, which means that no one knows the recipe. Only the main ingredients are recorded in ancient books. Fatty Lie started blabbering again. We analyzed the 7 herbs and compared them to the main ingredients, and finally confirmed that it's the lost, deadly 7 herbs poison. Oh? Then, what are the 7 herbs? If it's lost, then why would someone poison it? The follower didn't want the public's opinion to change, so he started asking sharp questions. I'm sorry, but we can't provide the recipe. First, it involves the company's confidentiality, and second, if we announce the recipe, what if someone with bad intentions uses it? Fatty Lie smiled. But we've already submitted the recipe to the Songshan police. As for why someone would poison it after it's lost, that's for the police to investigate. We're just a medical company, and this isn't our business scope. Fatty Lie's words made the reporters below the stage burst into laughter, but the Direwolf follower was furious. He panicked. Don't tell me that you made up a poison just to get famous? Saying that it's a millennium poison is just an excuse for Songshan's first school, and also for your own fame. Can you cure this millennium poison? If you can't cure it, then what's the point of making the recipe? Who knows if it's real or fake? Although the words of Deadly Wolf's underling were impolite, he also asked the question in the minds of many reporters present. In fact, they also had doubts about the authenticity of this deadly 7 herbs poison. After all, this matter was somewhat unbelievable. It was beyond the normal acceptable range. The 1,000-year-old poison was a bit too far away from real life. Therefore, although the question of crippled Wolf's underling was a bit impolite, it did represent the thoughts of some people. Haha, since it's a millennium poison, and the recipe has been lost, how could there be an antidote? Fatty Lie smiled, pausing on purpose. If that's the case, then you admit that you're using this opportunity to create hype? The follower's eyes lit up as he continued. I didn't say that. I'm just saying that since there's no poison recipe in the ancient books, naturally, there's no antidote recipe. Fatty Lie made a calming expression and continued, but although we don't have the antidote formula right now, the experts of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company have worked tirelessly, and after many experiments, we've finally created an antidote to the deadly 7 herbs poison. Right now, the factory is working overtime to create the antidote. We'll be able to mass produce it tomorrow morning and use it on the fainted students. What dash? Even the follower and all the reporters were in an uproar. They really made an antidote? They weren't trying to create hype. The strange coma that even the hospital couldn't do anything about was diagnosed as a 1,000-year poison by Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Not only that, they even created an antidote for it. This Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was, just as the rumors said, too magical. Of course, this antidote isn't our company's product. It's specially made for this poisoning incident, and we're not going to charge a single cent for it. Fatty Lie said, we're giving it to the unconscious students for free. This is also the social responsibility of every medical company. Earning money is secondary. Saving lives is the first priority. Fatty Lie's words made the reporters on the scene respectful. This was really a kind medical company. If it was some other black-hearted company, not only would they not give it for free, but they would also raise the price. If they sold this batch of antidote to Pengzhan Industries, they would be able to sell it for a sky-high price. Everyone knew that if this incident couldn't be resolved, the biggest impact would be on Pengzhan Industries' first high school. And if Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company used this opportunity to raise the price of the antidote, it wouldn't be hard for them to get a huge profit. Next, I'll announce our new product, Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine's effects and release date. After the poisoning incident, Fatty Lion naturally took the opportunity to promote his company's product. The reporters listened carefully to Fatty Lie's introduction, and they were prepared to report this incident when they got back. After the press conference of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, the situation changed drastically. The previous direction of public opinion began to change. While the media was ready to condemn the culprit, they were also full of sympathy for the first high school, and at the same time, they gave high praise to Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Even Ken Lang couldn't do anything about it. Although he accepted Seely's money, he couldn't go against the current. Could he? Now that the truth was out, and everyone was condemning the culprit and praising Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, Ken Lang couldn't continue to attack the first high school. Could he? Even the chief editor of the newspaper asked him to draft an article to refute the previous article, denounce the culprit, and praise Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. After all, he couldn't possibly go against the mainstream media. Could he? Ken Lang had no choice but to call Sihua. Sihua bro, it's me, Ken Lang. Sihua bro, I'm Crippled Wolf. Ken Lang said with a guilty conscience. I tried my best to smear the name of Songshan First School and Pengjian Industries, but I couldn't do anything about it. That Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company is too powerful. They actually found out the reason why the students were in a coma. They said that they were poisoned by some deadly 7 herbs poison and even made the antidote. I can't lie through my teeth anymore. What? Sihua was shocked after hearing the words. What did you say? Did Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company find out why the students were unconscious? You even concocted an antidote? Chapter 680. Recovering. Here's the money. Sihua didn't have the time to waste with Direwolf. He slammed his phone to the side and rushed to find Master Bing. He had to tell Master Bing this news as soon as possible. The news had spread in the media world, but normal people didn't know about it yet. Because the media needed time to write and publish the news, they were only in the preparation stage and hadn't released the news yet. The TV stations were also working overtime to edit the news and get ready to broadcast it as soon as possible. Sihua stumbled into Master Bing's room. Master Bing, it's bad, our plan failed. Master Bing was reading a novel written by Fishman 2, very pure, very flirtatious prequel on his phone. It was a very enjoyable urban novel. He was imagining himself as the main character and was torturing the supporting characters when he was interrupted by Sihua. He was annoyed. What are you screaming for? What plan failed? Master Bing, Direwolf, just called and said that Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company has found the cause of the student's coma. It's poisoning, and they've even found the poison. It's deadly 7 herbs poison, and they've made an antidote. Sihua said in a panic. Impossible. Yao Wang spoke before Master Bing could say anything. Deadly 7 herbs poison is an ancient poison, and there's no antidote. Even I don't know what the antidote is. How could they have the antidote? I don't know either. Direwolf just gave me the news. Sihua was just passing on Direwolf's message. Turn on the TV and see. If it's true, there'll be news on the TV. Master Bing frowned. He had heard of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company before. It was a newly established company that was in the limelight at House Yu's auction. Could they have made an antidote? Otherwise, how would they know the poison was called deadly 7 herbs poison? Sihua heard Master Bing's words and quickly turned on the TV. It was broadcasting the news of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's press conference. Everyone in the room was stunned when they saw Fatty Lie on the stage talking leisurely. Master Bing gritted his teeth in anger. He was overjoyed when he heard that Meng Yao was poisoned as well. But in the blink of an eye, the Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine company solved the problem and even created the antidote. Impossible, impossible. The Yao Wang's eyes widened. With a look of disbelief on his face, he said, This is a 1,000-year-old poison. There's no antidote for it. Even if they know about this poison, it's impossible for them to concoct an antidote in such a short period of time. Not even that person. The person a Medicine King was talking about was someone who had completely defeated him. He was his nightmare, but even that person couldn't create an antidote in such a short period of time. This was absolutely impossible. However, the truth was right in front of him. Yao Wang had no choice but to believe it. After all, the TV news wouldn't simply report it. If the miracle Dr. Guan's medical company didn't create an antidote and instead said that they did, it would be a huge blow to the company once this matter was exposed. This was fatal to a newly established company. Master Bing heard Yao Wang keep saying that it was impossible, and he was annoyed. He frowned and said, "All right, since it doesn't work this time, we'll think of another way." Master Bing didn't expect Yao Wang to be so weak despite looking so powerful. He couldn't take a blow like this. His Qibing skyscraper had collapsed, but he didn't give up. He was still thinking of ways to deal with Lin Yi. Of course, Master Bing thought this way because he didn't understand the power of the deadly 7 herbs poison. Only Yao Wang himself knew how terrifying and powerful the deadly 7 herbs poison was. He thought that this poison would work because even he didn't have an antidote for this poison, let alone those normal hospitals. He didn't think that the miracle Dr. Guan's medical company could create an antidote for the deadly 7 herbs poison. He didn't believe it, but the truth forced him to believe it. After all, the other party did find out why the students were in a coma and pointed out the name of the deadly 7 herbs poison. In other words, the other party had a certain level of understanding towards this poison. The antidote was also real. Otherwise, no company would risk their future. The antidote had nothing to do with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. If they couldn't do it, why would they take this job? It seemed like the other party's medical skills weren't weak. Miracle Dr. Guan Xueming. In the past, Yao Wang didn't put Guan Xueming in his eyes at all. Although he was called Miracle Doctor by the 4 big and 5 small houses, the hidden houses all had their own doctors. Yao Wang was one of House Zhao's doctors. But now, Yao Wang had to take Guan Xueming seriously. It seemed like he really had some skills. "Guan Xueming, I'll remember you. I'll compete with you." When the news was broadcasted, Gao Xiaofu also knew about it. He was also dismissed from school and went home. After returning home, Gao Xiaofu was scared and excited at the same time. It was the excitement of doing something bad. It was the first time he did something so bad. He poisoned others. When he saw the ambulance send the 28 students out of the school and the hospital give them a notice of critical condition, he felt an indescribable sense of joy. But after that, he was deeply worried. After all, those were 28 lives. If they died just like that, he would be the murderer. Before, the hospital couldn't find any reason. Gao Xiaofu let out a sigh of relief. Although he was the one who poisoned the students, there was no evidence. Even the hospital couldn't give an answer. He was afraid that the case would be left unsettled. But not long after, there was a company called Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company that held a press conference. Not only did they find out the reason why the students were in a coma, but they also gave the prescription of the deadly 7 herbs poison to the police. This meant that the police would start their investigation soon, and if they found out about the food in the cafeteria, they would easily suspect Pin Liang and himself. Gao Xiaofu was really anxious now. He quickly picked up his phone and dialed Zhong Pingliang's number. He had to discuss a plan with Zhong Pingliang. They couldn't wait for the police to come to their door, could they? Zhong Pingliang just had a kidney transplant. He was lying in the hospital happily, enjoying the sunlight outside the window. He felt that life was beautiful. Having a kidney was good. He felt that he had regained his confidence as a man. Chapter 681. The poisoning was exposed. Pinyang picked up the phone. "Xiaofu, I have good news for you. My kidney transplant was successful, and I'm about to regain my confidence as a man." "Ugh. Liang bro, I have bad news for you. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company found out about our poisoning, and they reported it to the police. Do you think the police will find us?" Xiaofu didn't even have time to congratulate Pin Liang, as his heart was filled with deep fear. What? They found out so quickly? No way. Pin Liang was shocked, as he didn't expect them to act so quickly. Didn't they say that deadly 7 herbs poison was some ancient poison that no one could cure? It seemed like Master Bing's Yao Wang wasn't very reliable either. "Yeah, Liang bro, what should we do?" I don't want to go to jail. Well, I'm still quite young. Xiaofu heard Pinliang's nervous voice and became even more afraid. It's fine, Xiaofu, I'll ask my dad right now. Master Bing already found a scapegoat for us. Even if something happens, you won't be implicated. I'll take it all on my own. Pinliang comforted Gao Xiaofu. That's good, that's good. Xiaofu heard Pinliang's words and sighed in relief. Then I don't have to do anything? If the police ask me, I'll just say that I don't know. And you don't have to say anything. If they want to ask, let them ask me. Just pretend that it has nothing to do with you. Pinliang said. Okay, I understand. Xiaofu said gratefully. Liang Bro was a good man. He didn't shirk responsibility when something happened. Pinliang hung up the phone and called his father over. Fabai was just outside the ward. He had just turned on the TV and saw the news about the mass coma in Songshan's first school. He was looking at it when Pinliang called him in. Dad, the poisoning was exposed. Hurry up and call Master Bing. Don't drag me into it. Pinliang will be lying if he said he wasn't worried. He was afraid of going to jail. He just had a good kidney, and he didn't even have time to enjoy life. He didn't want it to be ruined in jail. Xiaofu just called and said that some miracle Dr. Guan medical company found the reason for the student's coma and told the police, I'm also watching this news. Fabai nodded and said solemnly, I'll call Master Bing now. Although he has already arranged it, I still need to confirm it. Okay, Dad, don't make a mistake. I don't want to go to jail. Pinliang reminded. No way. Why would I let you go to jail? Fabai said with a wave of his hand as he dialed Sihua's number. Old Zhong, right? Sihua answered Fabai's call. He had a rough idea of why Zhong Fabai was calling him, so he didn't wait for him to speak. I'll arrange for someone to turn himself in to the police station right now. If the police come looking for Pinliang, just tell Pinliang to say this. Master Bing will take care of the rest for you. Sihua told Fabai what Pinliang needed to say, and Fabai calmed down after listening to Sihua. With the prescription of the deadly 7 herbs poison provided by Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Company, the police quickly found the content of the 7 herbs in the food. The person who poisoned the food was very smart. He only used one type of herb in each dish, and the herbs alone were not poisonous. In fact, when a few herbs were mixed together, they could even strengthen yang and nourish the kidneys. However, when these 7 herbs were mixed together, they could produce a deadly poison. This was also the reason why only a small number of students were poisoned. After all, there were very few students who ordered all 7 dishes and ate all of them. The rest of the students who only ate a few of the herbs would not be poisoned. After finding the source of the poison, the police sent people to the school cafeteria to investigate. Without any suspense, the suspects were Zhong Pinliang and Gao Xiaofu, who came to the cafeteria earlier in the afternoon. According to the cafeteria's chef, only Zhong Pinliang and Gao Xiaofu touched the food in the kitchen alone. Other than them, no one else touched the food. After eliminating the possibility of the chef's motive, the police locked their targets on Zhong Pinliang and Gao Xiaofu. Zhong Pinliang didn't expect the police to react so quickly. Gao Xiaofu hadn't hung up for long, and the police already came to his door. Hello, I'm the captain of Songshan's criminal investigation team, Lu Wangli. This is my ID. Lu Wangli arrived quickly, and the person who received him was Zhong Pinliang's father, Zhong Fabai. Hello, Officer Lu, you're finally here. That's great. Zhong Fabai quickly shook Lu Wangli's hand enthusiastically. Lu Wangli was stunned. He didn't understand why Zhong Fabai was so enthusiastic. He was here to arrest his son. Okay? Mr. Zhong, why did you look forward to my arrival? Lu Wangli asked curiously. Yes, my son Pinliang. Ever since he was harmed by the kidney trafficking organization and had one of his kidneys removed, he became absent-minded and had low self-esteem. I wanted to call the police, but he wouldn't agree no matter what. He was afraid that the criminals would take revenge on him after I called the police. Zhong Fabai sighed and said with pity, I really feel sorry for my son. Since you're here, please persuade Pinliang to cooperate with you and bring the criminals to justice. Huh? Lu Wangli heard Zhong Fabai's words and was shocked speechless. He never thought that Zhong Pinliang was also a victim of the kidney trafficking organization. It seemed like things weren't as simple as he thought. Could it be that there was something else? He decided to talk to Zhong Pinliang and said, "Is that so? Where is Zhong Pinliang now?" "He's in the ward inside." He said that he was mocked and looked down on by his classmates in school. They said that he lost one of his kidneys and is no longer a real man. They said that he's a eunuch. Zhong Fabai sighed again. They even mocked him and said that he sold his kidney to buy an iPad. "Officer Liu, with our family's financial situation, do we still need to sell our kidney? Zhong Fabai, may not be rich, but I'm the boss of an entertainment city, right? Can't I afford an iPad?" Chapter 682. Deceiving the Heavens. Well, I haven't finished speaking yet. He's being ridiculed in school. I don't think it's okay. If this continues, Pin Liang will become a mental patient. What if he does something I'll regret? I only have one son. Fabai said, so I contacted a black intermediary and bought another kidney for Pin Liang. I just finished the kidney transplant, and he's resting inside right now. Bought him another kidney? Just finished the surgery? Lu Wangli was even more shocked. Pin Liang was poisoned, and now he had a surgery? What kind of speed was that? I know that it's illegal to buy and sell kidneys through legal agents, but you can understand me. I pity all parents. Fabai sighed. If you want to punish someone, punish me. You can't let Pin Liang return the kidney. He can't afford it. He just regained his confidence as a man and wants to live again. Don't ruin his life. Lu Wangli was even more confused. Why did it sound so strange? Was Pin Liang the one who poisoned Pin Liang? I'll pretend that I don't know anything about this black agent, but I have something else I want to ask Zhong Pinliang. Can I talk to him alone? Lu Wangli asked. As for Fabai buying a kidney from an illegal agent, it was already given to Pin Liang. There was no point in pursuing the matter. Pin Liang was also a victim. Yes, of course. Help me persuade him again. Let him regain his confidence and go to school, Fabai said. Lu Wangli nodded and walked into the ward. He saw Pin Liang lying on the bed. Pin Liang naturally saw Lu Wangli in his police uniform. He hesitated slightly and said with a depressed expression, "Hello, officer. If you are here to collect evidence for the kidney trafficking company, I don't want to go. I don't want to embarrass myself anymore. I've had enough. I don't want the kidney trafficking company to take revenge on me. But if you want to ask about the coma incident in school, I can be honest with you. I did it, but it wasn't my intention. It really wasn't. I didn't think that there would be such serious consequences." Lu Wangli was stunned by Pin Liang's straightforwardness. He didn't think that Pin Liang would be so honest the moment he stepped into the room. From the looks of it, he must have suffered a huge psychological burden before. That's why he confessed the problem so frankly after I came. Lu Wangli didn't use any of his psychological tactics, but the more he thought about it, the more Lu Wangli felt that there was more to this than met the eye. Out of sympathy for Pin Liang, the victim, Lu Wangli didn't want a high school student to become a prisoner. Perhaps there was something going on? According to him, this wasn't his original intention. What could it be? Zhong Pinliang, I don't know what your intentions were, but now that you've admitted that you poisoned the cafeteria, do you know the consequences you'll have to bear? Intentional murder is not a small crime. Lu Wangli said with a serious expression. I didn't know it was poison. I really didn't know. I didn't want this to happen. I'm sorry. Pin Liang clutched at his hair painfully. You didn't know it was poison? Then why don't you tell me what happened? Lu Wangli frowned and asked. But if I tell you, you'll arrest my relative. I didn't know he gave me poison. Pin Liang looked like he was in a difficult position, but in fact, he said all the important clues. Lu Wangli's eyes lit up. There was more to this. That meant that Pin Liang wasn't the mastermind, and according to the current situation, he was also a victim. So Lu Wangli said, Zhong Pinliang, you have to tell the truth now. Otherwise, you'll be taking the blame for someone else, you know? If this matter really has nothing to do with you, considering that it's your first offense and that you're a patient now, you can atone for your crimes with good deeds. You can be given a lighter punishment or even be exempted from punishment. Sigh. Pin Liang sighed and hesitated for a while. If you don't punish me, will you punish my relative? Will he be sentenced to death? If it really has nothing to do with you, your responsibility can be lightened or even exempted. But if your relative is the mastermind, then his crime will be heavy. As for whether he will be sentenced to death or not, it depends on his attitude of admitting his mistake and his motive. Of course, it still depends on the court's decision. Lu Wangli said, "All right, you can find out even if I don't tell you." Pinliang nodded and began to explain. "Actually, this is what happened. I have to start from when my kidney was cut off. After my kidney was cut off, my classmates all laughed at me and looked at me weirdly. Some of them even said that I'm not a complete man anymore, that I'm a eunuch. Some even mocked me and said that I sold my kidney to buy an iPad. This made me lose all my face. I hate them. These people are too evil. They don't understand the pain in my heart. They don't know how inferior I feel. I hate them." And then, Lu Wangli nodded. He started to sympathize with Zhong Pingliang. He had already lost a kidney, and he was still being laughed at. No one would be able to take it. "A while ago, I even paid for everyone to go to the beach, and what did they do to me? They mocked me, and I hate them. I want to take revenge." Pinliang couldn't hold back the anger in his eyes. "Continue. How do you want to take revenge on them?" Lu Wangli thought. Was this Pinliang's motive for poisoning his kidney? I didn't know how to take revenge on them. At that time, a relative of mine came to visit me. I told him my idea. He said that he would help me come up with an idea. He said that he would take care of it all. So he helped me come up with a plan to trick them. He asked me to put laxatives in the food in the cafeteria. That way, when they go to the toilet during class, the school's toilets will be full and they will shit their pants. That way, they will lose all their face. They will know how painful it is to be mocked. I can laugh at them as much as I want. Laxatives? Lu Wangli frowned. If Pinliang only put laxatives in the food, it wouldn't be considered a crime. As long as there weren't any serious consequences, it was just a prank. Chapter 683. Surrendering. I just wanted to teach them a lesson. I didn't want to send them to the hospital. The relative who gave me the idea was in the medical business, so I asked him to buy some laxatives for me. The laxatives he bought for you are the poison you put in the cafeteria? Lu Wangli nodded and continued asking. Yes, but he didn't say it was a poison, just a laxative. Pinliang said. He said that the laxative was made up of 7 herbs, and the side effects were minimal, but it'd be a huge problem if everyone in the school got diarrhea. He said that only a few of the 7 herbs would cause diarrhea, and the effects would be different depending on the type of herb taken. That way, no one would suspect anything. Pinliang said. That's right, Pinliang. Lu Wangli nodded. If what Zhong Pinliang said was true, then he might have been used by his relative. After all, the idea and the laxatives were all provided by his relative. Zhong Pinliang was just a person who was tricked into carrying out the plan. From the fact that the relative gave Zhong Pinliang 7 herbs, it could be seen that the relative definitely didn't mistake the other herbs for laxatives. This kind of concoction was done deliberately and meticulously, and this Zhong Pinliang was really dumb. He just did what someone told him to do, and he took it seriously. What's your relative's name? Lu Wangli asked. Jin Maoxing, a distant relative of my uncle, Jin Gubong, Zhong Pinliang said. Lu Wangli nodded. Just as he was about to say something, the phone rang. Lu Wangli took it out and saw that it was a call from the team, so he quickly picked up the phone. I'm Lu Wangli, please speak. Captain Lu, a person called Jin Maoxing came to the police station to surrender. He said that he was the mastermind of the Songshan cafeteria poisoning case. The call was from one of Lu Wangli's subordinates. Oh, okay, I'll go right now. Lu Wangli thought to himself that this was really a coincidence. He had just gotten the name of the criminal suspect, and the other party had already surrendered. But this way, Lu Wangli didn't doubt Zhong Pingliang's words anymore. After hanging up, Lu Wangli turned to Zhong Pingliang. Zhong Pingliang, although you're a victim in this case, you're still responsible for it. Please don't leave Songshan for now until the case is over. All right, Pinliang nodded. I'll be staying in the hospital for a while. I won't wander around. You don't have to be afraid now. The kidney trafficking organization has been wiped out by the police, so you don't have to feel any psychological burden, Lu Wangli said. We hope that you can be a witness for the police. When the time comes, we can accuse the kidney trafficking organization. The kidney trafficking organization has been wiped out? Pinliang was shocked. He just got a kidney transplant at noon. How did he get wiped out so quickly? Wasn't this speed a little too fast? Yes, the kidney trafficking organization's headquarters has been uprooted. Of course, if you're worried that the kidney trafficking organization will take revenge on you, we can send some police to protect you while you're in the hospital. Lu Wangli said. Pin Liang said that he didn't want to testify because he was afraid of losing face and revenge. It was all bullsh*t to confuse Lu Wangli. But now that he heard that the kidney trafficking organization had been wiped out, Pin Liang was tempted. Did Jiang Wen get arrested? Pin Liang still hated Jiang Wen. After all, he was the culprit who cut off his kidney. As for Lin Yi, Pin Liang didn't hate him anymore. He'd already given Lin Yi's kidney to himself. Why would he hate Lin Yi? He should pity him instead. A great master in the Lin family had lost a kidney. It would be a joke if people heard about it. He heard from Heibao Bro that Lin Yi was also a golden class master. If he got a golden class master's kidney, would he have the strength of a golden class master? He didn't need all of it, just half would be enough. Pin Liang fantasized about a wonderful life where he could dominate the world, planning to test out his strength after he recovered from his illness. So, when he heard that the kidney trafficking organization had been wiped out, Pin Liang was actually very happy after the shock. He couldn't do anything to Jiang Wen, but the police could. Now that he had a kidney, he didn't need anything from Jiang Wen anymore. If it was destroyed, then so be it. Is that so? If I'm a witness, then wouldn't I be able to atone for my crime? Pin Liang pretended to be hesitant as he asked. Of course. After all, we need to consider your final punishment, Lu Wangli said. All right, I'll testify. Pin Liang nodded. But you have to protect me. I don't want the kidney trafficking organization to take revenge on me. Don't worry about that. We will definitely consider the witness's safety. Lu Wangli nodded. Pin Liang was feeling great. Not only was he fine after poisoning the kidney, he even had the police to protect him. He was too awesome. If Lin Yi saw this, Lin Yi would probably die from anger. Waha! After Lu Wangli left, Zhong Fabai quickly walked into Pin Liang's ward. Pin Liang, how is it? Is there any problem? It's fine. My acting skills are pretty good. Pin Liang said proudly. That Lu Wangli seemed to sympathize with me. He told me that I was tricked. Now that I'm atoning for my crime, there shouldn't be any problem. That's good. Fabai nodded. Everything has been arranged for your Uncle Jean Gubong's relative. Master Bing gave his family 3 million as a settlement allowance. His wife died early, and he had 2 sons. He was worried that he wouldn't have enough money to arrange a wedding for them. Now that he has everything, he's overjoyed. He said that it was worth it even if he died. Right, Dad. I heard from Lu Wangli that the police wiped out the kidney trafficking organization. Pin Liang lowered his voice. Say, I just had a kidney transplant this afternoon. Why did the police wipe them out so quickly? Did they wipe out Jiang Wen's headquarters? No way. So fast. That Jiang Wen is really unlucky, Fabai said with an indescribable joy in his heart. His son's kidney was removed. It wasn't as simple as returning one back. Now that his headquarters was wiped out, it was his punishment. But God bless House Zhong. They were wiped out right after you got a kidney transplant. You're really lucky. Chapter 684. Motive. Haha, that's true. Fabai thought about it carefully, and it was true. It seemed like House Zhong was going to prosper. Thus, the father and son laughed happily in the ward. After laughing for a while, Zhong Pingliang felt that something was wrong and quickly said, Dad, don't laugh. Lu Wangli said that he would send police to protect me. Don't let them see anything wrong. Fabai's smile stopped abruptly. He almost choked to death. After a while, he said, Why didn't you say so earlier? Jean Maoxing had rehearsed many times, so when he arrived at the police station, he was familiar with the process and directly confessed the problem. As for why he surrendered, it was because he watched the TV and couldn't take the pressure anymore. His motive was actually very simple. It was a spur-of-the-moment idea. After listening to Zhong Pingliang's confession, he came up with this revenge plan on the spur of the moment. And the reason why he wanted revenge was because of something that happened a year ago. A year ago, Jean Maoxing's family was very poor. He raised 2 children alone. The money he earned from selling herbs was not enough at all. His daily expenses were enough, but he still had to find wives for his 2 sons, right? Without a house and a car, who would follow you? So, Jean Mouching's mind became active. He wanted to do something himself. So he found his distant relative, Jean Gubong, and asked him to think of a way to help him. He contracted the cafeteria of High School, which solved the urgent problem. The cafeteria was a money-making job. If it was done well, it wouldn't be a problem to make a few $100,000 a year. Jean Mouching thought that contracting a cafeteria shouldn't be difficult for Jean Gubong, the second largest shareholder of Pengzhan Industries. In fact, Jean Gubong didn't think it was difficult. Although he was a distant relative, they were still relatives with the same surname. If he could help, he would. It didn't take much effort. It was just a matter of moving his lips. However, he didn't expect that when Jean Gubong raised this suggestion at the board meeting, it was rejected by Pengzhan. The reason was very simple. The cafeteria of High School had to be self-operated. This way, the freshness of the ingredients could be guaranteed, and it could also generate a lot of income for the school. Why not? Gubong was humiliated, and he hated Pengzhan to the core. However, he had always been planning to replace Pengzhan, so he didn't show it, only telling Jean Mouching what Pengzhan had said. Jean Mouching failed to contract the cafeteria, and he hated Pengzhan to the core. It wasn't like Pengzhan didn't want to pay the contract fee. They were self-employed, and they wouldn't earn much more than Pengzhan. So why couldn't he contract it? It wasn't like he had nothing to do with it. However, because Jean Gubong was still a shareholder of the group, although Jean Mouching was unhappy, he did not do anything else. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Zhong Pingliang's confession reminded Jean Mouching of the hatred from a year ago. Now that Jean Gubong was no longer the chairman of the group, whatever Jean Mouching did wouldn't affect Jean Gubong anymore. Originally, he was angry because he failed to contract the cafeteria, so Jean Mouching also set his sights on the school cafeteria. Aren't you self-employed? Then I'll let something happen to you. Let's see what the consequences of self-employment are. Of course, when Jean Mouching did this, he also considered the consequences. However, he remembered that the poison he used was learned from an old traditional Chinese medicine doctor when he was traveling in Jianghu to collect medicine. It was an ancient prescription that had been lost, and the concoction was complicated. It required 7 herbs to be present at the same time for the poison to be poisoned. The hospital and the police shouldn't be able to find such a special poison, so in the end, he could only let it go. However, he didn't expect that miracle Dr. Guan's medical company actually found it, and they even gave the poison formula to the police. This made Jean Mouching unable to sit still. He couldn't withstand the pressure, so he came to the police station to surrender. What Jean Mouching said was reasonable, and the reason for the crime was sufficient. The remaining 7 herbs were also found in his house, which allowed the police to close the case very quickly. As for Zhong Pingliang, Jean Mouching also made it very clear that he was just using him. It had nothing much to do with Zhong Pingliang. He would take responsibility for what he did, so he didn't want to punish Zhong Pingliang. Lu Wangli was originally full of sympathy for Zhong Pingliang. After a meeting and discussion, since Zhong Pingliang was a victim of the kidney trafficking company, the city was now weakening the influence of the kidney trafficking company on the people. It was not appropriate to publicize Zhong Pingliang's matter too openly. Zhong Pingliang was also bewitched by Jean Mouching and was deceived by Jean Mouching. He was also a victim, so he was exempted from criminal punishment, but he still needed to be criticized and educated. However, they didn't know if all the remaining members of the kidney trafficking company were caught. As a victim of the kidney trafficking company, the police still gave Zhong Pingliang the necessary protection measures while he was in the hospital. There were police officers guarding near Zhong Pingliang's ward 24 hours a day. The police needed the victim to testify in court against the crime of the criminal group and Zhong Pingliang. However, after the incident, Lu Wangli called Ding Binggong and talked about Zhong Pingliang's matter alone. Principal Ding, this student Zhong Pingliang is actually very pitiful. One of his kidneys was cut off. It's already tragic enough, and the students are laughing at him. This is not good for his psychological growth. Lu Wangli said, I suggest the school to organize a charity activity and visit Zhong Pingliang in the hospital together. Lu Wangli was doing his best for Zhong Pingliang. In order to prevent his psychological growth from being distorted, he made such a suggestion to the school. Ding Binggong naturally agreed immediately. After all, although the student's academic results were important, the student's psychological quality couldn't be ignored. Thus, the incident of the first high school students fainting together was considered to have temporarily come to an end. The first high school's reputation was basically restored, and they were just waiting for the police to hold a press conference to announce the truth of the matter. As for Tang Yin calling Lin Yi and asking Lin to save his love rival, Lu Xinwen and Kong Xiaobo were helpless. Since Tang Yin was willing, what else could they say? There was nothing going on in the afternoon, so Kong Mingming decided to bring Xiaofan to the hospital for a follow-up. Xiaofan's schizophrenia was obviously much better after a period of treatment. Ever since she met Kong Mingming, Xiaofan had completely lost confidence in Kong Mingming and removed his name from her heart. This was also what Kong Xiaobo was happy to see. Otherwise, Kong Xiaobo would always feel that he was a substitute for Kong Mingming. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.